Okay.
And it begins.
That's it. That's the last time I'm going to do it.
Right.
Should we do 20 and 25 again?
Do 15,
Yeah.
20. 15, 20.
15 and
15
20.
20.
15 and 20.
Good.
So Sam,
All right.
I feel obliged to ask, you are using the right microphone, right? On the recording? No, Sam.
Do I sound bad? Oh no.
No, you're fine.
No.
You're fine. It's
Always Sam, isn't it? Damn. We're learning some
It
things. We're
is.
learning some things.
If, he's got that baby there. Little Todd Howard's always wreaking havoc.
The record device default is Yeti Shoot It stereo microphone.
Cool, so we're good.
It's facing the right way, unlike the first 2 years of podcasts that we did.
He's recording into
So
the
I
back
bought-
of his mic. I was like,
I bought my
turnaround.
microphone from CEX, and when they bought it in, they took it apart, and when they put it back together, they didn't put it back the right way around.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this Yeti, and like Alex and Andrew were like, oh yeah, that's the right way around, yeah, and not knowing that the stand was the right way around, but the microphone itself was the wrong way around.
Ah, come on.
eventually I saw the buttons and I was, or like the knob. I was like, wait a second. Why is your mute button on the back? Why are you always going around the back to mute it?
Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
Let's light this wet sock.
Oh, not again.
It's
Hey,
not
it's
bloody.
your fault, Alex.
I know.
Hello, and welcome to episode 140 of the Gaming Fix podcast on September 26th, 2020. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite pizza. I am joined today by Pat.
My partner is very adventurous with pizza in a way that I am not. I just give me cheese, load it up with cheese. Different kinds of cheese, great. Multiple cheeses, all over it. But she likes like sea salt and like olive oil bases and like all kinds of stuff. And I take a bite of her pizza and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I just want cheese.
Okay. Sam.
Hello, I hadn't thought of a fun quip, but I support pineapple on pizza.
Hell yeah. I'll eat pineapple on pizza all day. Allison.
my standard pizza does involve pineapple. However, there's a pizza place near me, and Pat reminded me that has a baked potato pizza, which has mashed potatoes on it and other stuff, and it is extremely good.
That sounds
Now
interesting.
I'm like, dang, I could go for one of those.
You can get a roasted potato pizza here in Japan. That's a thing you can get. Alex.
I'm a big proponent of Indian pizza. So stuff like you have like a tikka masala on a pizza or like a butter chicken on a pizza.
Curry pizza is pretty good. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And our special guest this week from the My Xbox and Me podcast, Fixer.
Hello. Pizza. All the meats. Give me them all. I take all the meats, every piece of meat you got, give it to me now. That's my pizza. Pun. And pineapple on pizza, it's okay. It's okay.
Pineapple's a pretty meaty fruit, right? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
Not on the same.
do
Not
like
on
a-
the same. Not on the same though. I'm not saying I want pineapple on my all meats pizza, but I will
okay.
take a pineapple and ham pizza. I'm just
but
not.
you
I'm
can
not
grill
against
a
it like
pineapple.
everybody else. You know, I'm not against it. Just saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you
no,
can
that's-
definitely, if you can grill a fruit, that makes it closer to a meat for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
so-
good. Let you go. I'm good. You have it.
Oh,
Why
so
not? Why not?
Yes,
So
Allison.
are you? Do you want to do the those watermelon hams?
No,
No.
Put
no,
that on pizza.
no.
Well, you can put like you do like a rum glaze on a ham. So you do a rum watermelon, like
What to do.
There's definitely. I mean, that's a thing, right?
Still coming
It's
through,
awful.
you're gonna have to come off that full thing.
yeah, that's
Oh, yeah,
very
yeah.
fair.
There's like a restaurant that like roasts a whole watermelon and makes it look like a ham,
Yeah,
but it is clearly not a ham.
and all of the when they have food
But-
critics taste it, if you watch the videos, they're always like, you can tell they think it's disgusting, but they don't want to say that because, like, oh, there's a video and it's already COVID time. It's hard to get into this restaurant. We don't want to be rude. And so they're always like, it's not quite like ham, but it's interesting. And that's how you know that's
just a smack of ham.
That's a miss.
Be truthful, people, with your food reviews. Gosh darn it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah, if I can't trust you about food, what can I trust you about?
People think game critics get paid for reviews, but the real money's in food.
Food. Yelp reviews.
I saw Ratatouille.
The Michelin star people.
I did not know that the Michelin tires and the Michelin star people were the same until this year.
Wait, they are the same?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
they are.
Yes, they are.
I thought you were about to say you didn't know they were different, and I was going to laugh.
No.
Really hard, but I did not know that they were the same either.
I don't even know what Michelin tires are, so that tells you everything.
Is there like the big white rubber man looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
Oh,
from
that dude!
Ghostbusters? Yeah,
Oh.
that's the Michelin star organization too.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
Apparently.
You learn something new every day. I'm proud of you all. Thank you. I'll see
Yes,
myself out now. I've learned what I needed to. I'm gone.
It was nice having you. Thank you.
Yeah, we were gonna
Yeah,
have
but
your
apparently
expert input, but
Didn't they create it
right.
because they're like, people will drive to restaurants and they'll need more tires. Ergo,
That's it. It's got to be it.
No, it
makes
feels
is.
very tenuous.
Yeah,
all
no,
of the
it's-
money.
It's because they made like the Michelin Guide or whatever. It's basically like a TV guide but for restaurants, and that's how they would rate it. Was the stars, and then that became like coveted for some reason.
That's so weird. Michelin stars are overrated. IMO.
How dare you?
I don't think I've ever eaten at a Michelin star restaurant.
I've eaten at a.
don't
Stars? I don't know.
think I
I don't
have.
I've
even
eaten-
understand.
I've eaten at least it was either a 1 or a 2-star Michelin restaurant in Chicago, I think, and it was. It was fine.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
great
don't-
podcasting content right there. Silence.
Yeah.
I respect it.
and a
I
big
respect it.
silence and a shrug. Yeah.
Well, we're known for our deafening silence occasionally.
Okay.
But
That's all I got
think-
for Michelin stars. I
yeah.
think.
We've got Fixer here for a limited time, so we want to get into some news because there's
It's
a
like
lot
a
of
normal
Xbox
amount of time.
news. Yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna say-
Fixer for a normal amount
There
of
is
time.
there
Yeah,
is
like,
a
limited
normal
time implies
podcast
that
amount
it's
of
like-
time.
Don't undersell it. You're making me sound like the bad guy here. I've come in and
No.
The first thing I got was, sometimes we do 3-hour podcasts, and I was like,
Sometimes
I won't
that's
be
a lie.
doing a 3-hour podcast. Like, it won't
Sometimes,
Sometimes
it's
we-
generous.
No,
Sometimes
sometimes
we do 90
it's-
minutes.
No, sometimes we.
Sometimes it's
I was just gonna say sometimes we don't do 3-hour podcasts, and that's rare.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many of you. That was the other thing I was shocked by when listening to the podcast. I was like, I've never been on a show where there's 6 people. I'm like, how am I meant to be MC Fixer and try and fight for time on the screen or in the ears in this regard with 5 other people? This is like a battle royale in a podcast. It's ridiculous. Like,
It
I'll give
kind
it
of
a
is
go.
like that for
I'll
sure.
give it a go.
Yeah, only one of us will come out of this live.
Coming to
so.
That's the other
Spotify.
part. That's the other part we didn't tell you is each week only
It's
one
like
of us
the
gets to
ring.
live.
Damn,
The others
I
go
wasn't
into the
ready.
regeneration chamber and the Vita chamber from Bioshock and get
Nice.
popped back out in time for work on Monday.
Sweet.
Yep. So you have to give up your weekend if you don't make it out, but I think you'll make it out this week.
Oh, okay.
We'll give you a pass.
Thank you.
But not giving any passes this week is Microsoft with their just savage attack on, I don't know, the game industry, on Sony by I don't know. We'll get into this. Microsoft bought Bethesda. They acquired them for $7.5 billion US. Right? Is
it's
that
almost
right?
2 Star
Yes,
Wars.
that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. It's
Like
a lot of money.
That's yeah. How much of an Apple is that? How much? Apple's like 2 trillion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apple's
Yeah.
enormous.
It's nothing.
So,
It's
so
nothing.
it's like
Drop in the bucket.
4% or whatever. Yeah, 7% of Apple. That's a lot of games they picked up there. They just kind of dropped this news on Monday, the day before the Xbox Series X and Series S pre-orders went up, and like early in the morning, what was your initial reaction to this news, Fixer?
Excitement. Obviously, I've been doing My Xbox and Me now for about 6 years, which is a weekly Xbox podcast and YouTube channel. And for me, I've been eating. Can I swear on this podcast?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
No, I can swear. Yeah,
Yes.
I've been eating shit for 6 years. As an Xbox fan, I've been eating shit. Let me tell you, you don't understand what it's like when, especially, I come from the Kind of Funny community. If you know who they are, they're mainly PlayStation centric. So being the odd guy out when everybody is playing PlayStation and you're just there like, I'm playing Division 2 over here. Who wants to play? Everyone's like, no. Now we're getting to a point where it's becoming cool again to like Xbox. And again, from someone whose business, Xbox podcast, Xbox website, Xbox YouTube channel, I'll do other stuff on my own channel. But for someone whose business this is to cover Xbox, it's like, oh my God, thank goodness. And
Something.
well, yeah, I think again it's that weird thing for me where like I'm not actually like the biggest Bethesda fan in the world anyway. Like I am very, very, very quick to jump on them for their buggy messes, which they have from time to time, all of the time. But for me, it's a case of now they have no excuse anymore, in my opinion. Microsoft gobbled them up. I understand they're going to stay somewhat independent in terms of when it comes to what they make and how they make it, but I will no longer give them, not that I gave them a pass anyway, but I don't think anyone should be giving them a pass now when it comes to QA and things like that, because it's like, you have Microsoft money. Not that you were poor anyway, because you were clearly 7.5 billion value, but now you have Microsoft money. Don't screw this up. So for me, to answer the short question, I apologize. Just super, super excited and thankful that Xbox have proven and biggest. Phil Spencer gets a lot of the like, oh my God, Phil, Satya Nadella at the top of the chain here. He's the guy that goes, here's the money. We've not seen Xbox backed like this any generation of Xbox console. So to see this happen with all the other amazing studios they've picked up, I'm just so happy.
I think you're totally right about. Sorry, go for it, Andre.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, the one thing I would disagree with there is the QA stuff, because those games are so big and intricate, and you've got a million QA testers pounding on a million different things in those games. You're still never going to catch everything.
I want a million
Hopefully
more.
They can.
You've got Microsoft money. I want a million more. If that's the case, it's like there's no excuse of when it comes down to money and time and delays.
Yeah,
like all the stuff that we give Bethesda a pass for now, it's no longer there for me personally, which is there's still going to be bugs in these games. But there's no longer going to be the PS3 port of Skyrim coming out where it eats your console. Stuff like that is what I'm mainly talking about. I'm like, you don't have a pass anymore. There's no more pass. You're owned by one of the biggest companies in the world. So it's not a resource thing anymore. It comes down to time and business and putting money into a game. I understand all that, but there's no longer that pass for me anyway.
They still put out the Master Chief Collection, though.
But the Master Chief Collection multiplayer was broken. Its single player wasn't. And I think I'm with you guys. I totally agree with you. Master Chief Collection, when it launched, was very broken. But think about what they tried to do there. That was 4 games, all interwoven. They got it wrong. Cool, I understand that. Yeah. But the game was still playable. It didn't brick anyone's consoles.
Yeah. It was still kind of as they were recovering their... That was a while ago at this point too. Yeah. When that first launched.
And they righted that.
Different Xbox.
Totally.
They brought it all back around. So I was pretty cold on Xbox. Going into the one. I've never been an Xbox person, but coming around this week, I was like, what if I pre-order an Xbox Series S just because? And then I woke up. Well, no, they didn't, because I woke up on the 25th at 6:45 in the morning, and I was like, oh, I guess pre-orders went live, because they didn't say when they were going live here. They just gave the date, and they're all sold out in Japan.
They did give the date and the time zone for every country.
Not Japan.
You sure?
Because it went up late in Japan. It went up on Friday in Japan, and they did not give a time. I was looking, and it went up at like midnight.
Okay.
So, yeah,
that's annoying.
But
back to Bethesda. Alex, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, going back to the launch of the One, and this being a different Xbox and taking ribbings for like the past 6 years for being an Xbox fan, I think at the start of the generation, it was totally You had Don Matrick. Like, I think
Yeah.
that sums it up. Like, is saying you have Don Matrick. And I think as soon as Phil Spencer came on board, as soon as he was the face, as soon as he started making the calls, that's when he started seeing Xbox becoming like what it is today. And it's so much more appealing. Like, everything about the Xbox brand as it is today is top tier. I mean, I will say for me, I don't own an Xbox One X, but I own a PC. So at this point, it's basically the same thing, which is fine. And I use Game Pass because Game Pass is probably one of the best value propositions, best things that you can do these days, just in general.
Not one of. Let's put respect on Game Pass's name. Not one of is the best. There's no, you can't, like, especially from a PC player's value, because you don't even have to buy Ultimate. Like, I've got Ultimate, and so I'm paying, I think it's like £15 a month, £12 a month, something like that, right? From PC's point of view, I think it's $6.99 in the UK.
Yep.
It's the best. It's the best value in video games. Period.
The only thing
respect on its name.
The only thing that comes anywhere near it, in my opinion, is the Humble Monthly for PC gaming, because you get a bunch of games for that. But it's not as nearly as much of a breadth. You get like 12 games a month, and then you have them forever. But it's not the same thing, and it doesn't have new stuff the way that Game Pass does.
I was just about to say, you're not getting brand new games.
Yeah, I would still.
Occasionally you'll get something newer and you're like, oh, that's surprising. But at the same time, it's usually not. It's usually like something newer indie versus something newer.
It has a focus too on like indie and AA stuff too. Yeah.
Guys, let me talk to you about this amazing service called PlayStation Now. So
I thought you were going to say Apple Arcade, and I was going to like yeet my microphone through the screen in hopes that it finds you there.
All right.
But all of that to say, with Bethesda being on board, that makes Game Pass like an even bigger threat, like in a positive way.
Yeah.
How many more times? They only need to release Skyrim one more time, and that's on Game Pass, and then they never have to release it again.
That's true.
But they will though. Something. What did we just get? Amazon Luna or whatever it's called. I guarantee you, Skyrim's on there. I guarantee you, it's there. My toaster that's going to come out next year, it's going to be on that. My refrigerator next year, there's going to be a new fridge. You know it. Come on, why not put it on there?
You can play Skyrim on Samsung smart fridges, can't you?
There you go.
It's on the Alexa, isn't there? Like
it's
on the Alexa, they have
Alexa Skyrim
thing. Yeah.
Like, don't they have the Echo like with the screens? Are they going to put Skyrim on like the screen via Luna?
7.5 billion, baby. Why not? Why not? They got to make that money back.
Oh God.
That's the question as well, isn't it? Like, are they going to make that money back by trying to get people to buy Xboxes and Game Pass, or are they going to put those games on PlayStation?
They're going to make that back with HoloLens selling to the military. Like, they're going to make that back in like a year on nothing.
I think the thing that, to answer your question, is from my point of view and what I put out on Twitter, which some people agree with and disagreed with, is I see Starfield, I see Fallout, and I see Elder Scrolls. Those type of games are going to go to PS5 this first game. So this first generation of Xbox owning Bethesda, I think you see those three big titles go to PlayStation. But beyond that, no. I said it, like I said, I said it on Twitter, which was, I don't think this is a play for exclusivity. This is a play for player base. Do you want to pay $70 for this game, or do you want to buy it in Game Pass, which in many people's heads, which frustrates me to hell, is free because they don't think about the price of it every month. But in their head, it's free, like Netflix. My sister thinks it's free. No, I'm the one paying for it. So it's. I think it's that. It's not a. I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's just what I'm thinking is. It's not a play for exclusives. It's a play for. They've said it and they've said it time and time again. They're in competition with Google and Amazon, not PlayStation.
Yeah.
They are not. Literally, Microsoft could buy Sony so many times over. They could go and buy whoever they kind of want, which brings up a whole different conversation about monopolizing and stuff like that, which we won't get into because that isn't fun. That isn't fun talk. But for this, I don't believe I don't believe they're going to cut off. I don't think they care about making the money back, but I don't think they're just going to cut off everybody. It's not what Microsoft do. They've not done it with Minecraft. They've not done it with Minecraft Dungeons. They've not done it with Ori. There's so many examples of it where I'm like, maybe, but I just don't see it.
The part where that argument starts to fall apart for me is then, are they going to put Halo on everything? Are they going to put Gears on everything going forward? Like, cause it's the same kind of idea. You can pay $70 to play Halo on a PS5 if you want, or you can come over here, play it on Game Pass for, your,
I would say
whatever
no.
for a year, 160 a year.
I would say no, because those those historically have not been on other consoles. Whereas
Exactly.
everything Bethesda has, like everything
Sure,
Bethesda
yeah.
has put out to this point has been on pretty much every console. And
I don't
like,
think everything will come though. So it's just like I think you'll still see Dishonored if we ever get another one, which I think there's a chance now. Either within 3, I think
Please.
there's a chance now. Like these games that need to fill the Netflix type model, which is like I
Yeah.
think there'll be much smaller experiences, much smaller experiences, like what they did with Wolfenstein, which I know it didn't do too well. The twins, I can't remember what it's
New
called.
Blood, yeah,
That's-
or Young
yeah.
Blood,
Youngblood,
yeah.
that's the one. Like something like that. It's something to keep the audience appetite wet while they're making the next big Gears, Halo,
Yes.
whatever it is. Like I feel that's a big play they have now. 24 studios, I think they have now, excluding
24.
it's something in that realm, excluding their second party partners that they're going to have and stuff like that. They are trying to be the Netflix of gaming, and that's what they have now with the breadth of studios they have.
And their
Sorry to cut you off, Alex.
their team leaders, from what I have heard, have said like, yeah, they want games of all shapes and sizes. I think you're right on the money where we could see a Dishonored thing that's like, maybe it's released in a Hitman model where you get like a level of Dishonored every month or two or something like that. Small experiences that are designed to, like you're saying, keep people subscribed between Starfield and Elder Scrolls, like between those big games, for sure. And I think studios like Arcane and id are ripe to build those kinds of experiences with smaller teams while their larger teams work on the bigger games that are multi-platform.
Yeah, they can take more risks now. Is the thing. Like we saw them do it with Ninja Theory, which I know Ninja Theory were already working on Bleeding Edge beforehand, but like Bleeding Edge came out, no one really cared. I don't think it's going to get supported for too long. On to the next thing. But you can't say there wasn't a new game that came out, like,
Right,
and it won't go anywhere. And I think that's the thing. Like you said that you couldn't get one on the 25th. The fact they even convinced you to think about getting one on the 25th is a huge play for Xbox, because no one wanted an
There's
Xbox
a whole
One.
bunch going there, but yeah.
And
I mean, I've never owned
GPU
an
prices here are
Xbox.
fucked.
I've never owned an Xbox, and now I'm like, should I get an S? Because I don't know, like it just, the value proposition of Game Pass in general is just so high, and is just so good. And I think that is really what they're aiming for.
Yeah, they're going for
Is-
services.
Service of Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's that play between, I think I sit here as an Xbox fan, and I play everything. I've got a Switch, I've got a PlayStation, I play every exclusive that comes out because I'm a gamer first and foremost, right? PlayStation currently have the best exclusives, but the conversation then comes down to how much money have you got? Because you can make your PlayStation now your second console and have a better price proposition for game-to-game basis on a lot of experiences by having Game Pass. So that is, I think, going to be more the conversation that we start seeing more, which is, let's say any of you pick up an S, right? And you're like, I've just bought it for exclusives and for Game Pass. I'll check it out when I can. Then the conversation comes in. I'm just going to pop. Let's say it's Need for Speed comes out. I know. Let's pretend we all care about Need for Speed, and it's like it's gone in Game Pass via its 10-hour subscription on EA Access, which is now in Game Pass, or you can go buy it and risk that £70 that you might not want to spend. You're going to pop it in on Xbox and go, oh, this is actually pretty good. Then the discount's there to buy it full price. Like that's the play they're making, in my opinion. They're not trying to go, look at what we have in terms of like Gears and Halo. It's like our services are going to sell it for ourselves, and we'll see what goes on beyond that.
It's painful too. I primarily play stuff on PC, but I have a One X and a PS4 Pro as well. And I'm getting a PS5. I was kind of lukewarm on it, but at the end of the day, I managed to snag a pre-order. So I was like, I'm going to keep it. Yeah. And it was painful where, like, having looked at primarily PC games and Microsoft games for the last 8 months or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about buying those because I have Game Pass. But looking at my PS5 price now, I'm like, man, if I want to get Miles and I want to get Demon's Souls, that's like over $100 that I'm also going to have to drop on these games, and that mental math is very different. And when you come back from that, from primarily playing stuff on Xbox, where I haven't even bought like even PC games, most of the PC games I've wanted to play in the last couple months have been on Game Pass for PC, like Crusader Kings 3, Wasteland 3, Star Renegades. So it's like, well, now I have to budget for these games on top of this already expensive console. And it makes me think like, I wish all this stuff was just on Xbox, because then I wouldn't have to worry about it.
That's the play they've been making on Steam too, right? Like, we're going to bring all these games to Steam, and here you go, they're here, and they're $60 or whatever. And then you look at Game Pass, they're just there, they're included in the price for on PC, like you said, like $6, $7 a month.
But those games still top the Steam charts.
That's what I was about to say. Which
it's
wild. They're having their cake and eating it too.
Exactly,
which is we're going to sell you this for $60 because you're too dumb to open a separate launcher, idiots. And that's truly how I feel. Like, I'm honestly, I'm like, you truly can't be bothered to. I see people with Metal Gear that's just come out. It's like, I don't want another launcher. I'm like, who cares? You're playing video games. It's meant to be fun. It's like, I need it all in my Steam library, and it needs to be alphabetical and blah, blah, blah. Shut up, idiots.
I have a friend who refuses to pay for more subscription services. That's his thing. He's like, I'm not going to pay. I hate subscription services. So he's kind of buying the Master Chief Collection piecemeal on Steam. And in my eyes, I'm like, dude, just buy a year of Game Pass. Or even a month,
or do it a month at a time. It's because people are too lazy, I find. It's, I can't be bothered to write on the calendar to cancel Game Pass. It's like, that's your problem, not anybody else's, in my opinion.
As someone who accidentally paid for 3 months of Spotify on top of my Apple Music, which I actually use, I have some sympathy, but it is my fault.
I bought a year of PlayStation Now on accident.
I keep paying for a year of PlayStation Plus every $6.99. Just pay for the year. It's not like I can't afford it, but I just keep forgetting. That's how they get us. But that's my fault. That's not their fault, you know. So
let's talk, Pat, about when Sea of Thieves came out, and you were like, I don't know whether I'll get it on Game Pass. I might buy a physical copy, because that definitely happened.
I don't remember that. I believe you that it happened. I don't remember that. At the time,
I might cancel Game Pass, and I always want to play Sea of Thieves.
I will say, at the time, there was the value prop on Game Pass was a lot less significant, because they didn't have a lot of new. I mean, Sea of Thieves was kind of
the only new thing.
It was kind of the beginning of this push that they've made to have awesome new stuff on Game Pass all the time. But I mean, I played my favorite game of all time. My favorite game of all time is Outer Wilds. I played that game on Game Pass first. I've been following that game for 10 years almost. It's like 8 years, but and I own it in multiple places. I think you might be muted, actually, Fixer. I didn't hear you. I bought it in multiple places since then, but I played it first on Game Pass as a release game, because that was where I wanted that it was there.
All right, we've got some audio issues here with Fixer, but hopefully we'll get those ironed out. In the meantime, so I mentioned I was trying to buy Series S in Japan, and
I thought you were going to buy Bethesda.
No, I was trying to buy Series S.
Bethesda's been trying to buy studios in Japan. You need to
Microsoft.
Just buy. Or sorry, no. Bethesda had been as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They had
so
Tango.
Clearly,
they got Tango.
Yeah, they got Tango eventually. You should have purchased Bethesda in Japan. That's the.
Yeah, I mean, how much is 7.5 billion yen?
Add 2 zeros. 750 billion yen.
I mean, how much is 7.5 billion yen? Take 2 zeros off.
You say,
okay.
You say to Todd Howard,
got that around.
To Todd Howard, they're offering you $7.5 billion. What if I could give you 7.6 billion yen? Which you're really, it's less money, right? But
but
it's a bigger number.
He's a baby Todd Howard.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't understand. He just sees a larger
dollars in yen.
Oh, yen are cool. Okay.
You can't walk.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
This money is amazing. I can bite it.
It's amazing that he was able to program Skyrim by himself as such a small baby.
It's amazing he was able to figure out.
Considering he's a baby right now, and Skyrim came out however many years ago.
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
yeah, you're
back.
quiet.
Hey.
Yeah, we got you back.
All right.
That's I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You
what
sound
happened.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound good now.
Your recording still good?
Yeah, I've left it going, so you're all good.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just getting in before we started talking about Baby Todd Howard and swindling him for 7.5 billion yen instead of dollars.
Nice.
So I thought I'm gonna have no problem buying a Series S in Japan, like no problem, because the Xbox One, like the Xbox 360, sold like several million units in Japan and had like some pretty big visual novels like Idolmaster and something else come out on it. The Xbox One through this year has sold 114,000 units in Japan.
Oof.
It's not
That's
a lot
nothing.
of consoles.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, there's
1% of what the PS4 sold worldwide.
I was like, that's nothing. I'm just gonna I'll roll up, I'll buy one on Friday. No, apparently not. Apparently Japan is into the idea of the Xbox Series. Looking at Twitter and just very basic searches, like people are into the idea of Game Pass. It remains to be seen like how much it actually grabs on, because I still think the Switch is gonna remain the dominant console here for mobile stuff, but it'll be interesting to see if that balance changes and if more Japanese games start coming to the Xbox, because they have in the West. Does that dynamic change in Japan?
So, Andre, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is the primary phone platform in Japan? Is it Android?
Well, I see a lot of old people with like flip phones. One time I saw a lady with an iPhone using a Discman.
Nice.
But so I think it's a lot of iPhones, but also I think it's probably pretty similar to what you see around like in the West, which is like mix of iPhone and Android.
Right, because
But
I know that mobile is like a lot of people in Japan's primary platform. So
Yep.
if people are even just into the idea of Game Pass, that could be them doing xCloud, which like if they're doing that on their trains and stuff and they're commuting, like that's a huge place for them to play stuff. But you're totally right. Like I've talked to
especially now with
Cheese.
Fortnite,
Oh yeah, but like
that whole situation.
like Cheese, who has been on here as a guest, has talked about how in Southeast Asia, Xbox is not a thing, like at all. You either have you have a PC, you have a PlayStation, or you maybe have a Switch. Like that's it. A friend from Singapore said the same thing about Singapore and China. Like you just don't have an Xbox. Like it has zero presence. But the fact that it is starting to gain some traction is profoundly surprising.
Apparently in Japan, Xbox gamers have like I don't know, like they're considered perverts because of that Xbox 360 visual novel association. Like it says like the freaky gamers play on Xbox apparently.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm definitely. Just to jump off of that, I think did any of you guys watch the TGS show in the Xbox just did?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so what did you guys because I watched the industry because I have to sort of thing. For me, it was a case of I felt like they did a great job of showing what they're trying to do, and that's something that Xbox again has never done. So we always compare it to the Xbox One's launch, which was obviously abysmal, right? But that was abysmal in the US as well, and they bounced back in their home territory.
Yeah.
So of course it was going to do better than that. Is my thing. Like all you have to do is not put a Kinect in there, make it the S especially. It's from, again, you'll be able to tell me better than I know, but it's like space is a big thing. So it's the smallest console, which I'm assuming, I don't know how big 4K is and things like that. No one, even over in England, I find no one really cares about 4K. No one's like running out sprinting for 4K. We'll upgrade our TVs when we upgrade them. They last in longer and longer and longer, right? So for me, it's like, it weren't going to take much to do better. Phil has made a very huge point of going over to Japan often to get third parties more involved with what they're trying to do. So in my head, I wasn't that shocked that it's done better. I'm shocked that it's done sold out because I saw a few things going around like sold out just as quick as like Amazon over in the UK and stuff like that. I was like, oh wow, like I didn't expect that. But I think we've had the question. Obviously, they own Tango now, which is a Japanese studio, but they need a JRPG studio. I feel like that's the one next step for them. All they need is one that they can put out a game every.
Yakuza 7. That's a JRPG.
No, but I'm talking like from a first.
But,
I'm talking about from a first party perspective of like they need to create an IP as well. Well, that was the fake rumor going around, which was never going to happen because people in the industry are dumb. But to be fair, it wouldn't shock me if it did happen eventually. But especially with what we're seeing in the world and like the way companies gobble up other companies at the moment.
Yeah.
Well,
Sam. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
Sam, let me pitch this to you. What if Microsoft buys Falcom?
Then I would probably have to cancel my PlayStation pre-order because I got to play those games.
Yep.
The extremely niche Japanese developer whose every game they put out that I've played, I love.
I mean, to Fixer's point, they make a JRPG like every year on balance.
They probably should buy. They make Ys and they make Trails almost every year,
and Dragon Slayer.
And Dragon Slayer.
But I know you guys are walking around.
I don't want to slay the dragons. I want to fuck the dragons.
Of course.
And that's what Todd Howard's got you back.
To answer your
Dragonborn, how did that dragon get born? Think about it.
To answer your question from so long ago, Fixer, what did I think of that presentation, the TGS stuff? Like, as someone who has been following it from since December or whatever with the Game Awards, I was like, okay, this is nothing new. So like from a Western perspective, it was not much at all, if it was nothing. But I think as a value proposition, they didn't show a ton. They kind of focused on some Western stuff with like Balan or Eastern stuff, Balan Wonderland, which does not appeal to me at all. But then they got like Japanese creators in there with like Minecraft and showing off Flight Sim stuff.
That was more to my point, though. It's like it seems like they're actively trying, like they've never done before.
Yes,
and I think that's something
actively reaching out.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like they needed to do this generation with everybody. I'm not talking about just in that market. I feel like every market they need to do this level of we care, we want your type of games, blah 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 blah. But I felt like watching it from an outside, I agree with you. Like there was nothing new there for me, but I wanted to see how they were going to present it. Were they going to present it in a very American way, which is like, hey, we're America, buy our thing? And it wasn't. It didn't. To me, it didn't come across like that at all. It was like very respectful. Felt like everyone really on the American side tried as much as they possibly could to be like, hey, we appreciate you. We know how valuable you are as a customer, and we know that we've messed up in the past, but let's try and get something going here.
But one of the things about Japan is they are very like patriotic with their consumerism. If they very rarely buy non-Japanese products. Like TVs, it's all Sony, Panasonic, Toshiba, probably. Like that stuff, like more Chinese, like budget brands, Hisense, TCL, that kind of stuff is like making more inroads. But like, I could not find like a Samsung TV really here, or like LG has a foothold, but they've got like kind of like the high end, like OLED stuff. So that kind of gives them an inroad. Yeah. But so that's like another reason I was like, wow, they really went for the Xbox, because like they had a lot of ground to make up here, and apparently like it seems like their stock has been pretty low for pre-orders, at least like from like some stuff that's gotten out. It looks like GameStop had like half of what they did for PS5, it seemed like. But so maybe that has something to do with selling out. Hard to say. But
it creates that artificial excitement, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
If they've sold out in Japan, which they've never done before, and blah blah blah, it's like now the conversation's like, yeah, I got an Xbox. Did you get one? No. Like that type of situation. That Nintendo vibe sort of thing.
They're also not launching a year later like they did with the Xbox One.
Like I say, everything. I think they've done everything right? But I've got that same problem over in the UK, which is with PlayStation. How are you going to make me wait a week later than everybody else? How backwards is that? We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I think you've got to give credit where credit is due when it comes to Xbox. It's worldwide release, trying to be in markets they've not always been the best in. Just things of that nature have really come a long way.
So,
Yeah.
So given,
I think
given-
Sony's bungled this whole. Sorry, I was just saying. I think Sony's bungled this whole gen
100%.
launch.
Yeah.
I think every mistake
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
could make, apart from having a TV in port on the back and an expensive bundled-in motion sensing camera.
Wait, it's a
Like,
TV
they've literally-
import? I'm getting the feed from my TV into the car. Oh no, they got the Xbox One to HDMI in from for the
Yeah,
cable.
I still plug it in the wrong hole every single time I connect my One X. Every single time.
Don't sound like you've had that problem, but then boom, he's got a baby. That's what I was going for, guys. That's what I was going for.
Yeah. Plug it right in. So I have a question for the room. Like, given the momentum that Microsoft has had, like even back when, what was it, 2018 or whatever? No, it was before that, when they bought Mojang for like 2.5 billion and now Bethesda for 7 point whatever billion. If
Five.
they were, 7.5, like
Two
that's-
Star Warses.
Yep. So that's like 11 billion in game studio acquisition right there, which is a lot of bucks. Like if they wanted to make an inroad into Japan and other than Falcom, which, hey, I would be into, but I don't think the larger audience would be into, who do you think they would go for? Like personally, for that kind of money, I could see them going for like Square. But
Well,
I also
Square-
don't
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Square's only 1 point something. They're only valued at 1 point something billion.
really.
And
well,
They
they've
should
got,
buy-
they've got a
we looked-
PlayStation.
we looked it up on this week's My Xbox and Me. Like Square's around 1 point, Sega was around 1 point, Capcom was around 1 point. I don't think any of those companies want to sell though. And I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
we can play the fun game with Dream Team sort of thing here, which is like, who would we want them to get? Me, Capcom, all day long. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. If you could get me that game on a single system for it to look and play better, because we've had weird issues with Resident Evil on Xbox where it's not ran the best compared to what it has on Sony, which is funny because we're hearing this different thing now for 8. Apparently it doesn't run well on PlayStation, but runs really well on Xbox. Who knows? They can't do two things at once, clearly. But they've got Dead Rising, things like that. But I don't think Capcom are going to want to sell. They just had their most successful year, like this gen sort of thing, with Monster Hunter, Resident Evil bouncing back for the remakes. Same with Square Enix. I don't know. To me, I'd love to see it, but yeah, I don't know. What's the
Well-
number one pick? What is the number one pick consensus?
It is Square because they have a PlayStation exclusive coming out. So Sony
Timed
or Microsoft
exclusive.
just has to buy them up and go, it'll still come out on the PlayStation exclusively, but going
Timed.
forward, case by case basis, you know how it is.
If they buy Sega, they get Yakuza, they get Persona, they get Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. Like Sega is a very cheap buy for them, and it gets them
Sega
a
and
console
Sonic and
mascot.
Master Chief at the Summer Olympics.
Yes, give it to me. Give it to me.
I think the cheapest
Kiryu and Master Chief and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
You do the hurdles over Marcus Phoenix's tomatoes, and then if you screw up, he yells, "My fucking tomatoes!"
I
Then
feel
one of
like,
the cast of Persona 5 shoots you.
oh god.
Of course.
But I think one of the cheapest gets they could get purely for IP would be Konami. Then,
Yeah.
like much like John Carmack was like, oh, maybe Microsoft will be friendlier with me and my IPs. Maybe they could, kind of coax Kojima back to do something with Metal Gear.
I
or
never
something.
want Kojima to touch Metal Gear
don't-
again.
Nope. Never gonna
Give
happen.
him Boktai now. But now
so-
we're talking.
I also think it's relying on Konami wanting to sell off their games division specifically, which they've
they
seemed
can
like
make
I think they're
pachinko all day,
valued
baby.
quite highly, aren't they? Based
As a
on
whole-
the pachinko in the gyms and health clubs and stuff.
yeah, as a whole company, and Microsoft won't want that stuff. So
Yeah.
if it would, and the problem is that because they use their game IP as branding for so many things, I don't think Konami's ever going to let go of that, and it sucks because they're not a good game developer at this point. But yeah, I would love to see it because then maybe people would make a Silent Hills game.
Finally.
Oh, let me tell you about Dreams, where you can play Silent Hills.
I mean, also, if they buy Sega, they get the Total War people for their PC gaming, which I feel like would be a
Yeah.
genuine win for Microsoft. if they were like, right, we now own Total War, we own Sonic the Hedgehog, we own Yakuza, and we have Persona. That's like
They've already got it on Game Pass. Like, I don't know if they need to own it.
but like those games are some of the biggest names in the genres that they're in. Persona is probably the number 3 JRPG franchise in the world, with Dragon Quest at 1, Final Fantasy at 2, Persona at 3.
Then
And Persona,
Maybe, I don't know.
then you could have Forza Horizon 5 and Knuckles.
exactly.
When
What
you
if
really
Sonic
drive
was
down,
a Forza car?
when you really drive down on what Xbox currently have, though, they already have some of the best games in their genres now. They have the best RPGs. They have the best racing games, because GT's not been as good as it's been since Forza started being competitive.
I would agree with that.
In my opinion, I was like writing out a whole thing. Like, the only thing I don't think when it comes to first party wise, 'cause I don't think they have the best shooters yet, because I still think Activision with Call of Duty is the best first person shooter you can play. But PlayStation have third person action narrative games. That is it. That is it. They don't even have good multiplayer games. That is it.
So that's a
They should buy
important
Remedy.
point. Yeah, that's an important point that I was going to make earlier, is that when you say that PlayStation has the best exclusives, I agree. However, PlayStation has kind of the same exclusives. I don't want to say that there's no difference between them, because clearly, God of War is not the same thing as Last of Us Part 2. I'm not suggesting that,
They're
but
quite similar.
they are quite similar in the way that you
Spider-Man is probably the
them.
most different game they have.
And even that is still a third party. I mean, when you get into the literal verbs, the ways you push the buttons, Spider-Man has a lot in common with a God of War or Horizon as well.
Or Infamous.
Yeah. And so to me, like, and even Ghost of Tsushima has a lot of the same verbs in it, even if they're very different visual styles and very different like settings. And so to me, as someone who really likes diverse experiences from in every sense of the word, when I look at Microsoft's slate, Bleeding Edge is not a very good game, in my opinion.
No.
But I will take 100 stabs at a Bleeding Edge, kind of like, this is different, this is interesting, this is something that isn't really like common, over another 10 years of Sony prestige games, which I'm already kind of getting tired of. Like, I'm buying a PS5 because I do want to play God of War Ragnarok, but if God of War Ragnarok is just the same thing as God of War and it's another 40 hours of that, I'm sure the story will be great, but I don't know that that's going to hold my interest personally for 10 years, is another 10 years of those games.
You hit the nail on the head with me as well. I totally agree with you, which is, I'm not saying, again, when I say that they do still have the best games, though, when it comes to quality, polish, critically, story-wise, Sony has the best games.
Totally.
But I'm 100% with you. Played Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 on paper should be my game of the year. Should be. I love zombies, which I know they're not actually zombies. Calm down, everyone. But you understand what I'm getting at. Third person, that is my type of game. It is the best Resident Evil game that doesn't exist, in my opinion, like in what it did story-wise. Like, again, I love Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil more than anything. But the stories are not very good. But I'll fight for them no matter what. All right, because Chris Redfield's my guy. Yeah, you come near my Jill sandwich, you're getting punched in the throat. But
we need to get Fixer on Game of the Year so that he can join me in trashing Last of Us 2. I know that's not what you're doing. That's what I do. That's what I do. I hate that game.
But my point more is like, but you're right, which is I play games to get different experiences. I know it's not first party, but tell me why is probably the best experience of a game I've had this year.
Yeah.
Because it puts me in the shoes of people I would never be able to be put in the shoes of, and lets me feel what they are feeling, lets me live through what they're going through. PlayStation do not. I understand what they did with Lev. I'm not saying, but it's not to the same degree when you're not playing as that character for me.
Totally.
And the way they tell that story, right? It's too. With Lev, it's very subtle, and it's there, but it's more subtle than what it is in Tell Me Why. It's like, this is what we've got. This is what we're going with. Here we go. Like, the diversity that what Xbox have is so good. I really like it, what they've got right now.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Best Xbox One exclusive is Sunset Overdrive.
100%.
And it came out like 9 years ago.
You're not wrong. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Anyone who tells you you're wrong, just don't worry about them. They're not even. Their opinion doesn't even matter. Honestly.
Yeah, Cuphead sucks.
No, Forza Horizon 4 is all.
And
I'm
Cuphead
saying.
is not exclusive.
Neither Sunset. Didn't that come out in other places?
Sunset never came to PC.
It was like
it
rated in
came-
Korea for
Oh,
something.
it did come to
It
PC. It's
came
come PC now.
way late. Yeah,
It's come
way
to
late
PC now.
though.
You're right. PC. It comes to PC now. Yeah.
I still consider a PC to be if the game is on one console and a PC, that's exclusive in my brain.
Well, you got to word
You know
it
what I
properly.
mean?
Then it's console exclusive. Like we were saying with Final Fantasy 16, timed exclusive.
That whole thing.
You can't keep, but this
yeah.
is what Sony do. Sony is so bloody magical at the moment with their
Yeah.
marketing, where they keep doing this, where they're so vague about everything that they convince each and every one of us to talk. You have a podcast, yeah? So you
Yeah.
have the platform and you influence people with your platform. So you have to say it correctly. It is
Well-
a timed exclusive.
And the struggle with a lot of that stuff is we still don't know what timed exclusive necessarily even means in the context of some of these things. And some of them we do. We know Deathloop is a year. But for something like
Fantasy VII
Demon's
remake.
Yeah, for something like Demon's Souls,
That trailer,
part of the reason
which
that I'm-
said other consoles and PC, and then they go, no, we didn't announce that. Like
that's
what-
part of
what?
the reason
When
that
it
I'm-
said when it says PC, that stands for PlayStation consoles.
Yes.
part of the reason that I'm buying a PS5 is because I am very confident that Demon's Souls remake is going to come to other platforms. I think that will happen eventually, but is it going to come to PC in a year published by Sony, or is Namco Bandai going to get publishing rights to it? I mean, Sony owns the
505.
IP, or is 505 going to do it? And so because there's all that uncertainty, I'm confident that game will be available on other platforms eventually, but I don't know when it'll be. And I know I want to play that game. So do I want to just like wait and see and then maybe not be able to get a PlayStation when we find out, oh, it's going to come in 2021 at the holiday, which is far longer than I'd like to wait for it. It's tough. And so I wish that language was a little clearer. That's another thing Microsoft does is they're very clear about if you have a PC or an Xbox, you'll be able to play all these games. No worries.
It's almost
which
like
is great.
they're for the players, right? It's weird. Xbox is almost like that.
Do you see the Final Fantasy Square Enix cleared it up? They were like, look, it's coming. It's 6 months exclusive on PlayStation 5.
Yep.
After 6 months, it will come to PC. After 1 year, it will come to Xbox.
No, they didn't say Xbox. That's not what they said.
And
They
they
said
Other
said
consoles.
consoles. Other consoles, not Xbox.
The Switch Pro. All right.
It's great.
coming
We
to
have
the
talked
Ouya.
about Xbox and Bethesda. We got here from Bethesda, but this has been almost an hour. I'm gonna start to move us through the rest of the news. Xbox Series S and X pre-orders went up on
Talked about that kind of.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
Monday,
Tuesday.
I don't think anyone on this podcast or none of the regular hosts pre-ordered. I tried, but did not get one. Did you get your pre-order in, Fixer?
I've got 2 X's and 1 S.
What?
What?
So you
what-
can
you need
play
to
the
go-
one
you
while you
need to-
play it.
That's the wrong way, though.
That's a lot.
You need SSX.
No. EA can deal with that, mate. I ain't got time for that. I got an X, and I got an X for me. And I got both of them for the business. At the end of the day, people
Yeah.
keep doing this. Like, why did you do it? I'm like, I run an Xbox website and podcast. I have to do unboxings. Xbox do not send me anything. They do.
No, yeah, of course.
Literally, I've been doing it. I've literally reached out to their PR and was like, "Can I get an Xbox?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Not even one of the fake ones.
That's what I literally asked them for the fake ones. I'm like, no. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go pre-order them anyway. But yeah, I got one backup in case Amazon are like, hey, no, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
are you
couldn't
gonna
take that
cancel one if one it becomes clear it's coming through?
Who knows? Depends what mood I'm in. Depends. Look, again, being self-employed and running your own. Sometimes you have to spend money so the tax man don't get it. Maybe I just keep 2.
Okay.
Sandwich them together like an Oreo. Who knows? Do what I gotta do.
They're more powerful if you put both of them together. You stack them. That's why they're that shape, so you can stack them and
That's
make it more powerful.
true. AK Gaming, 240 hertz.
Exactly. You just need 2 of them and you daisy chain them together.
And
That's
you
what
just
that weird
plug
port
in.
is.
Yeah, you put the expansion ports back to back, and then it comes with a link cable.
Nice.
It's like a
slot in.
Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I've got 2 terabytes.
SLI.
Thank God.
Yes.
So I guess it's AMD card, so it's Crossfire, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
I got an email from Amazon that was like, your PS5 is coming on the 19th of November. So I'm confident that I'm getting mine at least.
I wish they would tell me because I would like to take a day
I
off
would
work.
hope you would, Sam, since you work for the damn people. All right. Sony, after their all the Xboxes sold out all over real quick, real fast, Sony apologized for the disaster of their pre-order situation where they said, we'll give you plenty of notice, and then they didn't put pre-order dates in the trailer or in like the announcement video.
Do you see the
Jeff Keighley was like, they're going live tomorrow, and then Walmart's like, they're going live right now. And then everyone just kind of went whenever.
Yep.
What was
Do you see
conspiracy theory, Sam?
The conspiracy theory is that they've had that PlayStation Direct or whatever filmed for like 3 months, which is why there's no dates in it, and the prices are only ever written on a slide. They're not spoken. The date's not spoken. So they waited for Xbox to go, edited that slide in, and put it up, which is
I don't know how
why
much of a
all the
conspiracy
details are
theory that
wrong.
is.
That's not conspiracy. That's just facts. That's what
I think
happens. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Just
They, at the end of the day, they have to do the business due diligence of. I think I guarantee if it was the other way around, and Microsoft didn't leaked, I think the X would have been cheaper than what it is. That's my conspiracy.
Maybe.
It's already cheaper.
Maybe.
It's already cheap enough, but I think Xbox wanted to undercut them so bad. But once the leaks happened, it was like, we can't. There's literally nothing we can do now. And then they saw the fan feedback, which was like, oh, this is everyone's happy with the price. Like, oh, thank God. We didn't lose multiple millions, just multiple millions still. It was just like more money we lost. But yeah.
I will also say it sounds like the Xbox pre-orders were way more botted than the PlayStation ones because they gave a date and time.
People talking about that on Twitter where I think was it I forget who, but that the Xbox One X sales were up significantly,
like 700%
on Amazon.
Yeah, and a lot of speculation is that it was botting, which
bad info on the bots and whatnot.
That's the case.
It
Well,
makes total sense.
Good if it is.
Yes, definitely good.
Seriously, I was
I
like,
hope they did. Yeah.
oh, bots, people scalping consoles. Just bought a bunch of the old console. We'd love to see it.
I've heard multiple reports from friends who are in some like larger public discords who said that they saw people that were like, oh, I got 20 of them if you want one. And who knows, those people could be full shit. But but it seems like when you give someone a date and time, obviously there's going to be a larger window for people to set up bots to buy them.
Exactly, because then they're just able to set up on like the page and they're like, okay, we're just gonna set this up here, we're gonna turn on our bot here to just refresh it a billion times, and we know exactly when we have to turn that on because it takes resources to do that. Same thing happened with the 3080s and to a lesser extent the 3090s.
Yep.
I was just real lucky and I saw a tweet at 3 a.m. that said Amazon is going live with PS5s at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and I logged on to Amazon at 9 a.m. and then Andre sent me a link to it because I couldn't find it.
That I had a sort of similar situation where I talked shit about a PS5 all day after that all day. I was like, this is stupid. No one should buy a PS5. They've got nothing for launch. This is dumb. And then Andre put the link in our chat.
Morales.
And I was like, I'll just play that on PS4. And then Andre put the link in our chat for the Amazon pre-orders, and I was like, well, I'm gonna click it and let me see if I can get one. And then I got one, and then I changed my whole tune.
I do find it very funny that of all of us, you're the one who's been the most critical of PlayStation, and yet who's the one who has the PlayStation 5 pre-order locked.
Well, I have to buy one so I can continue to be critical.
Yeah, but back to the tweet, the thing that PlayStation said, like the tweet they said, like to quote it, they said, let's be honest, PS5 pre-orders could have been a lot smoother. We truly apologize for that. Like, that's the most human Sony has been for like the past 3 or 4 years.
Oh my God, yeah.
They contracted John Drake to write that tweet.
Or Matt Kessler. But like the Sony, like
I would have loved just a video of Matt Kessler delivering a dramatic speech.
Oh my God, yes. Just like soup pouring out of his pockets. Like he's just eating a can of Surströmming, like just has that expanding
He has
fish
to
can.
he has to blame it on us though, because he doesn't ever he talks shit about other people.
Blames Dave Lang.
Oh
Yes,
God, yeah.
if only.
But like I feel like to wrap it back to what we were talking about before, Sony this gen, like at this moment, is in just as kind of like they're in the similar spot.
They're in the
to
Xbox
where-
One position.
Exactly.
No,
Like I feel like
no,
but
they're not
no,
as far.
no. Don't
From-
you dare disrespect like that. Nope. No, they're not.
but the outward perspective that people had about Microsoft at that point, like when Matrix said we have a console for you, it's the 360 thing, and people were just like boo, like that's kind of, it feels like that's how people are looking at Sony right now. And honestly, I kind of
but they're
agree.
also
I think
just
that's
eating
industry
everything up.
people, though.
It's very so okay. The next news story we have here is the Spider-Man PS4,
Oh God,
PS5
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
So
Unfortunately, as your Spider-Man expert, I am actually going to have to drop out of the podcast now to go parent
All
a
right.
child.
this is
Have
perfect.
fun.
Now we can just shit talk Spider-Man all
Hell
day.
No, I'm here to
Thanks for
defend
joining
your
us,
good.
Sam.
Yeah, I'm
Be well,
a
Sam.
Spider-Man
No,
defender.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Tell
But I like
Todd
Spider-Man.
we said hi.
I will do. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Can we just jump back on Alex's thing real quick before we
Yeah.
move on to
Yeah.
the Spider-Man stuff? Which is, for me, it's a case of I'm so happy that Sony have apologized. Obviously, right? That's a great thing for a company to be doing. But it took them long enough to apologize. Number one, and number two, no. People, we're too close. The problem is, I've learned this again. I've been doing this a long time now, which is we all live in our own little echo chambers on Twitter as well, where we are all too close to the industry. No. The conversation about Sony isn't bad in any way, shape, or form.
I
when it
tend to
comes
agree.
the people that actually matter. Us without me with my 4,000 Twitter followers, who cares? No, people one on Twitter are not always the people buying these consoles. Think about the COD players, think about the FIFA players, think about the Madden players, NBA. Those are the ones that are getting Sony to 100 million, not just us gamers.
And I think
So-
even if you look at the response that, like, when you click into the Spider-Man tweet where they're like where Insomniac confirmed that there would not be an upgrade and it's a different SKU or whatever, I read that and I was like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, I spent $100 on Spider-Man and you're telling me you're not going to upgrade my copy? I'm still going to buy Miles Morales, so you're getting me for another $50 and you're going to like make me shell out another 20 if I want to play the upgraded version of the original, and my save's not going to transfer. And in the comments, everyone was like, well, it's a lot of work and I want to platinum the game again, so it's fine that my save doesn't transfer. And I was like, well, just say it's bullshit. It's okay, you can still like the game.
You
but
can still like a company, or like I feel like liking companies is a little bit weird, but like
Yeah,
you
sure.
can still like them even if you ever acknowledge that they do a lot of bullshit. Hence, I'm a Nintendo fan. I recognize that Nintendo does a lot of bullshit all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm like, still got me.
When I said Sony is in like the Xbox One position, like that, it's their arrogance and
Yes.
just like how they're behaving. Not so much like the public perception, but the way they're acting is very akin to Microsoft
Yeah.
at that time. It
Totally,
feels like.
that's kind of
didn't
what I
even-
mean too.
That's interesting. I didn't take Xbox as being arrogant. I just took them as being absolutely dumb. Like, no, I generally believe Sony are arrogant because they're in the winner's position.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
remember, Xbox didn't even win last gen. They were ahead and lost last gen. How
Yeah,
do you go?
it
They were
ended up
so
tied
far
up, yeah.
ahead,
Yeah.
far ahead on the 360 era, and it just come all the way back.
Yeah.
I think this is the first generational launch that we see where, like, for a lot of people, a lot of like millennials anyway, the PlayStation was kind of their first console.
Yep.
And I know for me, I had an N64 first, but I very quickly became a PlayStation person, and got a PS1 before the PS2 came out. And so I think there's that built-in nostalgia factor with PlayStation that has existed for the last couple of generations, where because people were so into the PS2, there's a lot of passes you're willing to give for that. Whereas Microsoft, now they have that, right? Like now there are a lot of younger players who maybe their first console was a 360 or something.
Yeah,
but at the start of the Xbox One generation, I think for a lot of people, they were still, I don't want to say unproven. I mean, they had been around for over a decade at that point in the gaming, like the console space, but there still wasn't that baked in, like when I was a kid, I got this console for a lot of people that had the disposable income to spend on consoles at the last gen's launch. So I think that is a big factor in how much you're willing to forgive a company for these kinds of screw ups. And they didn't have that. And so those screw ups became more of a public distaste for them. Whereas with Sony, they have such a, I don't want to like dunk too hard on Sony fans, but they have such a fervent fan base at this point that they can get away with a lot. Yes, they can get away with a lot before it really starts to impact their numbers at all. And to your point, Fixer, there's also the fact that a lot of people don't even, a lot of the Call of Duty gamers and the FIFA gamers, they're not even pre-ordering these things. They're waiting for them to show up on a shelf so that they can grab one when they're in Target or something.
100%.
And so for them, none of this matters at all. They don't even care. So it's complex for sure.
Yeah. So getting back to the Spider-Man story where, okay, on the PS4, you got Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man.
Yep.
And coming this November, you'll have Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales.
On PS4.
Then on the PS5, you can get Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, or you can get Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, which also comes with a remastered version of Marvel Spider-Man. The only way to get the remastered version of Marvel Spider-Man is in that Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales.
Right.
You, no matter what, if you were like Pat, you've bought the season pass, you bought that game when it was brand new, you cannot get the upgraded PS5 version of that game, which I guess has some new trophies, but doesn't seem like it has any like groundbreaking changes, like visuals and stuff. And people are just like, it's fine. I don't care. There's like you can play backwards compatible. You can play Spider-Man on the PS5, but it will not be like PS5. Like here's our next gen pack for Marvel Spider-Man. Yeah.
Well, and Miles is a better character than Peter, so for one, it's okay that they're Trojan horsing that.
We're a few weeks away, like just a few weeks off of people shredding Remedy and 505 for Control.
Yeah.
And people are just giving Sony a pass on this. The CD Projekt Red came out a few weeks ago saying, hey, The Witcher 3, which is a 5-year-old game at this point, is getting a next-gen upgrade for free if you own the game on the current consoles and on PC. Like, is this that Sony can just like walk in here and be like, oh yeah, no, $70 for these games, $50 for the base version of Miles Morales, but $70 for these games, and you're not getting a free upgrade for, you know, one of the most popular games of all time.
I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out, like they said that would upgrade as well, right?
I think
I think that's probably a flat across,
yeah,
because it's the same price on both. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
it comes down to arrogance again, which is again is Sony being arrogant because they know people like Pat are going to buy it, and they bought a PS5. And I'm not calling you out.
No, I agree. I did buy it.
Like at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact of
right.
I'm a businessman as well, so I understand it from a business perspective.
Yeah,
it's like why would we do this if we can make money off it? Because it's the right thing.
Totally.
What's wrong with jokes?
Right. Absolutely.
But this is where again it comes back to: are we going to keep vilifying Xbox? And we going to keep worrying about Xbox have smart delivery, which again I generally thought was a PRE bullshit term they were throwing around, but no, they clearly have gone to people that are working on the consoles, the third parties, and gone, this is how we're doing things. You're not doing that on our system. You're not charging people for upgrades. We want this to be the best place you can play games.
So some of them are doing it though, like the NBA 2K.
Well, that was going to be my point. That's literally what I was going to get to, which is how comes we torch? I'm a big NBA fan, and 2K just sent me a big Mafia, just full transparency, like sent me a big Mafia package, beautiful, amazing, cool. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, just to be very clear. But how comes we torched 2K on Twitter? Twitter was ablaze when 2K did this, but Sony does it. No one cares. I'm so sick of and I did this. When I was on GameSpot. I said this when I was on Unlocked. I said this, which is what is up with the media bias? I don't understand it. if no one's being paid off, which I don't believe anyone's being paid off,
Yeah.
because I think that's just dumb internet stuff, honestly. Why are we not quick to call it out? And Tamor on GameSpot said to me, because they're waiting to get more information before we can call it out. But then if you don't call it out at its moment, no one's going to care in a year's time when you do the article, which is, Sony did some scummy stuff. No one cares. But then they need to know it now. And they need to be doing it for the void. No, I don't know what word I'm going with there. Don't worry, I'll try to be intelligent. They need to do it for people that don't understand this the way we do, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And they're just not. And it's super frustrating. But again, this is why we all have our own podcast, right? It's down to us who are not fanboys. I am the hardest on Xbox that you're ever here. Yeah, I'm happy to celebrate them when they do something right, which it hasn't been much in the last 6 years. So for me, it's really
recently.
annoying. Yeah, no, exactly. But that's what, for someone whose tagline is for the players, tells me everything I need to know about your business, the way you're moving. It doesn't work that way.
You're thinking of the wrong kind of player. This is like more like
for the players with money,
like Outcast, like player haters ball type, that kind of.
I think it's funny that the Sony's big tagline is "Play has no limits" for this launch, when clearly there are a lot of limitations. There's limitations in stock. There's limitations in upgrading people's copies of games.
Yeah,
Play has no limits if you have money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, since we're here on the topic of prices of games, and we are going to lose Fixer pretty soon here, I do have a bit of a quiz that I would like to throw at you. This is on the price of Japanese games, because the Japanese prices of games, they fluctuate wildly. This quiz is going to have games from about 4,000 yen. I can give in USD or I can give in yen, about 100 yen to $1. This game goes from 4,000 yen, which is about $40, to upwards of like 9,000 yen, which is $90.
Okay.
This is the base version of
US
these
dollars.
games.
US dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
This is the base version of these games. So I already put this in our chat, but I'll let you do this one first, Fixer. We've got a pre-order for Nier Replicant version 1.224744871139 for the PS4. How much do you think that is running for on Japanese Amazon? Tax included, 10% tax.
7,000 yen.
8,580. Okay, that's what we're working with here. All right.
Okay.
Number 2, this is for everybody.
So expensive though.
Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
Million. It's $1 million yen.
That's a 9,000 yen right there.
Yeah, definitely.
9,000
Maybe
yen?
10,000. 10,000.
I'm gonna say
Alex?
50,000 yen.
50,000. You're talking $500.
$500? Wow.
5,000. Yeah.
5,000. 5,000 yen.
No,
Okay.
50,000 would be great though.
Allison?
Let's go with just the standard 6,000 yen.
Okay. Standard list price is 7,128 yen. It's on sale though for 6,155. So
Hey.
Allison
you go.
was close. The Demon Souls remake.
9,000.
8,000?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8,000 also. I think 8,000 is.
Alex?
I think it might be closer to the 9,000. So I think we've split the room just in those two spots.
I'm gonna tell you this price is very nice. 8,690 yen.
Ooh.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. FIFA 21.
That's low. That's got to be like
7,000.
5,500.
6,000?
6,900.
Nice. List price 8,700, on sale for 7,000.
Wow.
Boom.
Who? Wow.
Told
That's.
you. I know my FIFA. I got
They
it.
get people. They get people for that much every year.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I mean,
I pay every year.
winning 11 or Pro Evolution Soccer, the Konami game, is also
Yeah.
very popular here.
So that's why I went low. Is I thought that PES was
Yeah.
a little bigger in Japan than FIFA. So
Licensing, baby.
Yeah,
Licensing.
yeah.
Dang. That's crazy.
Speaking of licensing, Marvel's Avengers.
Ooh.
I'm gonna guess 8,500 on that one.
7,250.
5,500.
Clean 7,000.
4,400 for the base game.
What? That's
The special edition, 8,800, double the price.
Lots of confidence in
Wow.
Marvel's Avengers. A game I like a lot. Warts and all. I would have thought that would have been high because
did it?
the
Sorry, go for it.
I would have thought that would have been high because I have a perception of like Japanese media consumption, which is that like since it's kind of like a huge budget Western franchise, that might have a lot of popularity as sort of a novelty. But I'm clearly they're not charging as much for it. So
I don't know. I don't know.
Did it launch at 4,400?
I would assume so, but I pulled these prices like yesterday, so I don't know. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. We got the PS4 and the PS5 version here, so you
Are
know,
they the same?
pick your poison. Just
5,000.
no, they're different, but okay,
I would say
5,000.
6,000.
9,000.
Let's go 7,000.
So the base game on the PS5, $64.90. 5,309 on sale for the PS4. Ultimate Edition, 8,690, 7,500 on sale.
Damn.
Let's see.
Games are expensive in Japan, yo.
Okay,
Games are
we'll do-
expensive, period.
Yeah.
I've got more, but I'll jump down to these last two. Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 remaster for the PS4.
Huh.
Not a new game.
No. Oh,
I'm gonna
this
say
feels like a
7,000.
This feels like a
I'm gonna say
trap.
7,000.
I'm gonna say 8,000.
6,000.
8,500.
5,782.
Weird. It's weird how some stuff's priced very reasonably and some stuff is like the opposite. Not that I think that 10 and 10-2 is that $60 ish
No.
is reasonable for that, but you know what I
No.
mean.
Persona 5 Royale. This is going to be our last one.
8,000.
Royale come
75.
out this year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
7,500.
7,000.
Base price 9,680 yen.
Sal?
Oh.
On sale for 7,527.
There you go.
I was close.
People say, I feel like I hear a lot about how calculating taxes for U.S. purchases is ridiculous. And I'm not going to tell you that our tax system isn't completely broken and stupid, but I feel like game prices are way more varied in most other places.
Oh yeah.
I think probably the UK is probably the closest, and maybe Canada is like the closest in like pricing stability. But it seems like in a lot of markets, Japan being one of them, prices are really different all over the board.
Yeah.
But the idea that,
Yeah.
I don't know how to decide what to charge for these games.
yeah, like the idea of Persona 5 Royal being basically $100, what is that, like 80 pounds? Like that's a lot for a game that's mostly the same as Persona 5 that came out like 2 years before it.
Yep.
Well, and in the US, when
That's
you put those
crazy.
games on a shelf, Persona 5 and FIFA, Persona 5 Royal and FIFA are the same price. Like they just there's one unified price right
Marvel's
now.
Avengers and Persona 5 Royale are the same price. in
Yeah,
America.
There's one unified price for all, you know, that's not really true, but most AAA box titles that you put on a shelf are going to be $60, and then some of them will be $40, but it's pretty rare to have the kind of range of pricing differences. It's more common on PC and in like indie games and stuff, but it's wild how much it fluctuates in Japan.
It's arguably healthier for charging $90 or $100 for a game is pretty steep, but arguably healthier for the industry to have that range of prices where you can charge like this game isn't a $60 game, or this game is worth more than $60. We believe that, and that's the base price.
I can't
for, like,
remember
Skyrim or something.
I can't remember if it was on GameSpot that you guys were talking about this or where it was, but there's I think the conversation is going to happen much more in the coming generation of it is game prices probably should increase because they cost so much to make. But it only works if that money is actually going to the development teams, and it's not just going right into like Bobby Kotick's pocket.
Yeah,
so
I said that on GameSpot.
That's what I thought. Yeah. And so that's the kind of weird balance that I think needs to get struck.
Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't actually matter. Again, it comes back to the same conversation we were having, which is we're gonna buy these games, and again,
what are you gonna do? Not buy
again,
it?
me being very clear, I get sent literally, I'd say probably 80% of my games are sent to me by PR, so I don't even go through half as much as what I'm sure you guys are going through. Of like, I've only just started to have a relationship with Sony, but I'm looking at my PS5. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy the console. I'll probably get Spider-Man or Demon's Souls. Now, I may not get both, but I'll probably get one of those sent to me. So that's not always in my head, but I feel like it's very important to never lose that as you grow as a influencer. I hate that word, but as you grow as an influencer, it's like you need to remember that £70 is going to be in the UK. £70 a video game. I remember, again, I've said this before, like I grew up quite poor. My mum would have slapped me upside my head if I asked for a £70 video game as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, no, like that's gas, that's electric, that's food. Like £70. Like I understand why games are going up, but like I said on there, I'll say it again here, which is it only works for me if QA testers, community managers are all the ones who are going to actually see the pay rise, because people are jumping from the industry as quick as they can to go into other mediums because of how burnout is ridiculous nowadays.
It's so volatile. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends, obviously, where you're working and things like that, but the industry's in a weird place right now, and that's why I think like Xbox is doing the right thing with the subscriptions. They're taking the hit. They're taking the biggest hit when it comes to their pockets at the moment. Don't get me wrong. I think you'll see Game Pass go up in price. I think you'll see it be $20 at some point. I hope not. I really do hope not. And maybe they make enough money beyond 15 million times, let's say, $10 a month, blah, 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 blah. You work it out. Like, obviously, there's a lot of people coming in at $1, but hopefully it just works out the way Netflix works out. But I wouldn't hold your breath if they don't increase it. Even we see Netflix even increase.
It's going up $3.
It's ever so slightly, right?
We just got to hope that they port Doom to now to F-35 helmets, and then they can charge the military another $2 billion per helmet.
Works for me.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask you some questions about your about my Xbox and me before we let you go here, because we're coming up on your time. So, like, my biggest question is, what is it like just running an Xbox focused or like a platform focused like channel site podcast?
It's interesting. Obviously, my big explosions only just really happened, to be honest with you. Like, I was just on Podcast Unlocked, which is IGN's podcast, which is the number one Xbox podcast in the world. Period. There's no competition at the moment. Kind of fire coming from. You've got Major Nelson out there, and I'm trying. But so Major
Nelson is at Microsoft too, so that's kind of messed up.
But I'm just sort of learning the fanboy war. I've always known the fanboy war was a big one, but we just put out the video on Bethesda and it did big numbers. We did 400 concurrents on YouTube for a channel that only had 600 subscribers at the time. So
nice.
That was humongous for us, right? It's interesting because people want me to come on there and just be the biggest Microsoft corporate shill, and that's just not who I am. I am very, very critical of all, not just one or the other. So for me, I'm still learning how to deal with it. I've got my DMs are currently open. That may have to change very soon, just because the sheer volume that I'm now getting of hate from people when I say stuff. People are now watching what I say. I am very me on Twitter. You guys, you've been around me now for about an hour and a half, right? So I'm very cheeky. I swear a lot. I'm very British. Oi, governor, la, la, la. You understand what I mean? Like, whatever. That's who I am, right? But people don't get that context from a tweet. So I put out a tweet yesterday or the day before saying, hey, Microsoft, would love to get an Xbox from you guys, considering I've been covering your console for 6 years. Get back at me. Me, that's a normal MC Fixers taking the piss out of Xbox for not sending them something. A sense of entitlement in there, definitely. If I probably sold more Xboxes than half the PS people that are getting these Xboxes, in my opinion. So it's like you could help the little content creators out. We're called micro influencers, is what we're called. We have a small audience, but we penetrate them very hard. Yes, I said that on purpose. I like to penetrate hard. But for me,
like a dragon.
Yeah, like a dragon. For me, I'm just sort of finding that whole balance. It's hard, is what I'll say. But I wouldn't have had the success I've had if I didn't go with one platform. The problem is when you do I've tried doing a podcast where you shoot for everything, right? You don't penetrate the audience the way you would if you just focused on one thing. I was PS2 guy. I didn't play the original Xbox. I was a 360 kid, but I owned a Switch, I owned a Wii and things like that. I've never been one console guy, but now people want to box me in as that just because I cover it. So yeah, it's interesting is what I'll say. It's not good. It's not bad. It's interesting.
All right. Yeah, because I was just thinking like you kind of elaborated on it or touched on it earlier where, you know, for the past, like the Xbox One, it was rough going there for a while. So I think that's why the audience have got to know us. Like the people that have been there, been doing it 6 years, like I said, which is like the audience that are there now. And if they've been there since day one, we had to drive that show with personality. Because there wasn't news, there wasn't games, there wasn't good exclusives. Like we didn't have any of that on the Xbox. So literally it was me at the start, me and Ross Miller, which then turned into me and Kevin Tarnley, which turned into, I've had a number of co-hosts, which is now currently me and Crash. But you have to be personality driven. Like people do not turn up to my show to really hear about the Xbox news. They turn up to hear what Fixer's got to say about whatever. So yeah, it's just it's interesting. It's scary sometimes. Honestly, you don't realize how much, it's kind of stupid, but how much power you kind of have. Like I've had people message me like, "Oh, what headset you got?" I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "Oh, because I'm gonna buy the same one you've got." And I'm like, "What? Why?" Like I didn't tell you to. Like, I'm not telling you to do that. But it's like learning. Sounds stupid, but with great power comes great responsibility. It really does. Where like I'm learning that as an outspoken person that I am. It's like, oh, okay. Corey Spearman, which is my real name, is who I am. So I have to be that person every day. But MC Fixer has now become a brand. And my Xbox and Me is obviously a separate brand to that, where it's like, I now have to really think about the way I say things, the way, whatever I do, I can't just shoot off on Twitter. And so I've got PR companies from everywhere now following me. So you say something, you're like, can you back that tweet up with whatever you're thinking? Instead of just shooting from the hip the way I used to. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, but really, I should have been doing that from the start. I should have been conducting myself like that from the start. But because I grew up on the council estate, I'm not like well spoken. I didn't go to university. Everything I've learned is self-taught. Like there's no like no one come here and bought me a camera and bought me this and bought me that. I've had a great community that's come together and done amazing things for me. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know. You just have to learn on the go, and that's sort of something I'm doing at the moment. Nice. Yeah, there's always room to learn and improve, and the industry is changing constantly with the stuff with Twitch and YouTube and all the wildness there.
Twitch. It's a wild west out there. Not anymore, really, to be honest with you. That's the new thing I've been doing. I say new, I've been streaming for like 7 years as well. But like lots of people come in my chat like, how do I start? I'm like, you're too late. You should have started 7 years ago.
Yep.
Especially now with quarantine, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm
everyone's a
streaming on Twitch. I'm home." Yeah,
that thing rubs me so. Like people get annoyed at me in my chat a lot when I say, "Don't call yourself a streamer. You streamed. You're not a streamer."
Yes.
Like I sacrifice birthdays, going out with my friends, like time with my fiance. Like I love you guys. I'm very thankful to be here. I'd rather be in the other room watching TV with my fiance, but This is work.
Oh, yeah.
This is work, you know, like you've got to get yourself out there. You've got to do, I was doing my Xbox and Me with Snowbite Mike. Snowbite Mike was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that show. I've done covered everyone. Yeah, you understand. But if you want it bad enough, you will do that. And those are the things that people don't see. They don't see the hours afterwards. Like I do E3. Every year we do E3. We cover E3. We do reaction stuff, right? They don't see the 6 hours after the show's done of me sitting at the computer editing. but then they want to be like, oh yeah, I'm a YouTuber. No, you uploaded a highlight video which had no editing. That doesn't make you a YouTuber. That means that you did one thing, which I want you to do that. I want you to become a YouTuber, but don't compare the two like they're equal, because they're not until you really get in there and do the nitty gritty work, doing thumbnails and then taking down that thumbnail because that one was rubbish, but I need to make this better. And it's those little moments that suck, but that's how you make it, you know? That's how you make it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still not made it, even though people keep saying I have. It's very weird to me. It's like I had a phone call with a friend yesterday called Mr. Midas, and he was like, "Bro, you've been on IGN, you've been on GameSpot, like you've done it." Like, and I'm like, my bank balance doesn't tell me I've done it. I'm still broke as I was. I'm still as broke as I was. You know, like I'm still paying out of pocket for all this stuff. It is changing, and the growth is there, but it's super interesting because people assume because you've done one thing that like everybody loves you, and then you get the thing from 2K and everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, this did not pay for my rent. It's a lovely keyboard, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it doesn't pay the rent. I've got to be honest with you, you know. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of rambled. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no,
it's good.
This is all great. Well, we will let you get back to your fiance now. I think we've kept you long enough. But
thank you.
Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere at MC Fixer. See, Brandon, same name everywhere.
Spell it correctly, unlike our podcast.
CFIXER. Yeah, I do a weekly Xbox show, as you've heard me talk about. I'm very passionate about it, called My Xbox and Me. It's on all podcast services, youtube.com/My Xbox and Me, and my personal YouTube channel where I do like reaction content and Let's Plays, and you know, you can go find me. I'm there. You type in MC Fixer, I'll pop up. You'll find me. Thank you so much for having me. I would love to be back on at some time. Let's make it happen. I'm down.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Slide in those DMs. I'll be here. All right. You're a great bunch. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Have a good day. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great evening.
See ya.
All right. Allison, you're recording all right?
Yeah.
Seems like you. I haven't noticed any delay.
Woo! I bought my it's exciting news is I bought a new cord for my microphone and it seems to be working out fine. So
nice.
Excellent.
You know, exciting news.
I'm cutting this part out so we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to make myself another coffee real quick, but you can get into games as much as you want. I'm into Andre's nipples. Don't cut that.
Nope, that one stays.
We can wait, and we'll wait for Pat to get back with his coffee.
Yep. Don't worry, I'm marking this down. The video version, just gonna have to deal with it. But
yeah, that's you can hear all about my nipples on the video version of the podcast.
You can see all about your nipples on the 2018
Yeah, 2018
game of the year. It wasn't the first one.
Yep.
I was very passionate about Dragon Ball Fighters.
You were.
They put out Master Roshi. I should probably buy that Fighters Pass.
I wasn't.
I think it's on sale right now for like $12.
That's where? Everywhere?
On like PSN. Probably. They have like a big in Japan sale going on right now.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
That's how I bought Final Fantasy 12 for some reason. I just like impulse. I was like, you know what?
Oh, that's.
I want to give this another chance, and I just bought it. Partially because the internet is like, I don't know, the internet situation is fucked at my house. Because whenever Karen's playing like COD Mobile or like watching a video, or actually just, it's not even just that, but like anything is causing my streaming to lag lately. So I'm trying to figure like my over LAN. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So I bought a new router that's coming tomorrow. So hopefully maybe that'll fix it. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I've got gigabit and I'm getting like good speed. So
you were talking about that when you were plugged in with your laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was getting like 0.
1.69 down. Like what?
Nice.
It was 1.69 down and 1.69 up or something. Some other 0.69. 2.69. Yeah. It was very nice, but not the numbers I needed to be pulling.
It was nice, but not particularly nice.
I don't even know, like, it fixed itself, and I don't even know how it fixed itself. Like, I just like unplugged and like plugged some things in, unplugged some other things. Like, okay, the charger, if maybe there's like electrical interference because this is a bad dongle or something like that, like speeds that back, plug the charger back in, and it worked. I don't know. I don't know.
Bad dongle, is that similar to Bad Dragon?
Oh God!
I will
Right.
tell you,
Fucking dragons.
I will tell
This
you.
episode brought to you by
Oh my
Bad
god,
Dragon.
Actually, you know what? From what I have heard, they are pretty okay company. If you
you
know the
wanna fuck
contrary,
a
let me
dragon.
know. But
I want that to be our first sponsorship.
I was trying to find the comparison chart that I found of like the biggest media acquisitions. So I searched like acquisition on Twitter. I don't know why I thought that was going to work, but that's where I saw the thing, and definitely scrolled, and there was someone who was like, I haven't shared my recent acquisitions, and it was huge fake dragon dongs. And I was like, gonna keep on scrolling so I don't lose my composure while we're podcasting.
All right. Well, welcome back, and thanks to Fixer for joining us once again. We're going to keep going with the news, then we'll head into what we've been playing if we've not passed our 3-hour runtime. At this point, who knows? We spent like an hour.
Honestly,
talking
I
about
have no
Bethesda,
idea what
Microsoft.
we're doing with this episode in terms of timing.
But we have a new challenger approaches in the streaming game space. Amazon announced their streaming service, Luna, which is a subscription service for like it's like $6 a month right now or so,
I
$7.
think so.
I don't know. And it's got kind of like Amazon Prime Video or like a YouTube TV or like TV streaming services. You've got channels you can add to your basic package. And I think the example right now is a Ubisoft channel where you'll be able to get Ubisoft games in addition to whatever games that Amazon has licensed out of for their base subscription.
Yep.
Sounds much more appealing than the Stadia model.
Absolutely,
which is
yeah.
Pay us money and buy the games. But right now it's in early access. I don't know if anyone's played it at all yet. You can like sign up to get access. It's launching soon, if not already in people's hands.
Yeah.
What are people thinking of this?
So first off, are fans of Luna just going to be called lunatics?
Probably.
Lunites.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not want to support Amazon if I don't have to. However, as purely looking at it as a service, as a thing, it seems like it could be cool. I mean, Amazon Web Service, AWS, which it's using in the back end, is the second biggest in the world. The first biggest in the world being Azure. So I think it'll be stable. I think it'll probably work well. They're not. It doesn't seem like they're overplaying their hand like Stadia did. They're not saying like, oh, negative latency or anything like that. They're saying things like, oh, it'll be 1080p, 4K will come someday.
Yep.
Like, it sounds like they're playing it safe, but they're also playing it smart. And just so it seems interesting. It would all of it could be for naught if you play it and it feels like garbage. But it just looking at it from the outside as a black box, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the business model is really appealing. I also am no Amazon fan. I have a Prime subscription right now because if that is some magic way to get a PlayStation faster, my pre-order is through Amazon, unfortunately. But generally, I don't like paying them money for anything if I can avoid it. However, from a business perspective and from like a consumer friendliness perspective, this seems like a much better model than Stadia for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too that they are launching this on iOS from what I saw through a browser.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Which is how Stadia works anyway. Like on PC, you play it in a browser, and I'm assuming that it is roughly the same applet or whatever on Android, it's just running it as a dedicated app instead of in a browser, but like it's all the same stuff.
It depends.
Probably.
I guess, I mean, it may not be, but it's interesting that Luna is going to try to go this route. And I also think it will be extremely interesting to see how Apple treats Luna, because they have an established relationship with Amazon that is kind of a sweetheart deal for Amazon.
Yep.
So I think it is they need to be very careful, because if they're not very careful with the way they approach this as Apple, it could have implications for their lawsuits.
Speaking of that, just an aside, we don't have it written down in news. Did you see that a whole bunch of companies are now backing Epic?
Like
in this lawsuit?
Spotify, I saw. Microsoft aren't Microsoft?
Microsoft did early.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of other ones now too. I don't have the list here, but like,
I think Spotify is one of them, because they've been complaining about like the Apple One subscription. They were getting out there saying like, yo, this is really bad for us.
Spotify had a weird week because they were like, yeah, Epic's right. And while we're on that subject, transphobia. And then they got like real mad about like the Joe Rogan shit.
Stuff.
And so I have some mixed feelings about Spotify right now. And by mixed, I mean mixed the way you mix up.
Mixed bag of dog shit.
Yeah, the way you mix things up in the toilet.
Wait. How do you mix things up in the toilet?
I don't want to get
an
into
immersion
it.
blender.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Is there any other
I'm really
way?
glad we
I guess you could.
left to have this conversation.
His name's going to be on the episode.
I know. Sometimes I wonder if we should not run our episodes by our guests first.
All right. Well, they also have a controller that they have shared with the world that looks just like
they bought a bunch
Nintendo
of Switch Pro controllers.
Yeah, it's a
controllers.
Switch Pro controller, 100%, but purple. And
Which-
like, to be
That's an
fair,
improvement.
the butt purple is a good.
Yeah.
It is an improvement. The butt purple is great.
Yeah, but purple.
But
Butt
yeah.
purple?
Yeah.
Whose butt is purple? What? You go see a doctor. So maybe, I don't know, maybe my eyes are like off center, but I'm looking at this render on the What?
Oh no.
Maybe my eyes are off center, but I'm looking at this render of the controller on the website, and it looks like the center button is just like off to the left, like offset just a little bit, and it drives me nuts. Maybe it's not, but it kind of looks like it. Like the center button and like the options and the mic button are all just like ever so slightly to the left, like a few millimeters. And I'm like,
I can see it.
this
looking at the
cannot
controller.
stand. This cannot stand.
Yeah, it looks like this is terrible for a audio podcast, but if someone pulls up the picture, look at the distance between that center button towards the circle around the D-pad versus the circle around the stick. It's definitely shorter toward the D-pad side,
Yeah.
which could be a deliberate choice, just making a shorter throw for how far you have to go to hit it. But
Maybe, I don't know. But it's weird.
it is.
It is weird. I don't like that. I don't like
I'm
that.
glad
at
I'm
all,
not the
now that
only
you
one who
pointed
sees
out.
it.
No,
Now
you're
that
right.
you pointed
I'm
it
not
out,
the
I
only
can't
one.
unsee it, and it's awful.
There's a review of Amazon Luna.
Do we know if it has analog triggers or not?
It doesn't look like it.
Because that's my
Looking at
biggest.
the Pro controller, the Switch in general, like with the no analog triggers, is very
It makes me so
frustrating.
Yeah, I hit on that as one of the primary reasons that I don't like playing games on Switch is, and it's weird. I understand that's a weird hang up, but
Certain games,
Such
yeah,
as Mario Sunshine.
yeah.
or
I don't think this has analog triggers.
It's
Which-
it's a Wi-Fi controller, right?
yes,
Probably, yeah.
I just think
I think
you,
so. Yeah.
oh no, Allison has gone robot. I think it's your connection and not your recording though.
No.
I think it's your internet, and I don't think it's your.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound better now. Yeah, I don't think any of us are going to jump on Luna, but I imagine Sam at some point will get it in his head that Luna will be the thing that solves all his problems. Trails of Cold Steel 3 is on Luna, so he'll subscribe, and he will report back at some point in the future about whether it's good or not. And then he'll just talk about Trails for 30 minutes.
It certainly seems like a more consumer-friendly approach to streaming than Stadia does to me. And
yes.
I think that Amazon, I saw an interesting, I think it was Jeff Grubb maybe saying that like, it'll be interesting to see how long Amazon stays in this thing, because video games are so much more complex to develop and market than films, and that people don't realize that from the outside. It seems like, well, you do animation and modeling and all this work for filmmaking too, but because of like the range of like QA and the complexity of marketing games through so many different channels, it becomes really challenging. And so his argument was like, in like a decade, Amazon's going to go like, why are we doing this? And so it'll be interesting to see how that goes, I think.
I think Luna will stick around, but I maybe like the Amazon Game Studio stuff, like New World and Crucible, like they'll just stop trying that stuff, but they'll keep Luna around because
I guess,
streaming will become only more and more accessible.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how their Amazon Game Studio stuff intersects with Luna, because I agree. I mean, I think they're obviously a market and being a developer are two different things, but it'll be interesting to see how all of those things intersect and how hard they support this stuff going forward.
Yeah, definitely. The hardware is apparently equivalent to a good Intel CPU and an RTX 2070 Super, so it's already outdated. Throw it in the trash.
It's my computer.
Throw it in the trash.
It's basically my computer.
All right. Well, unless Alex, you have any other thoughts on that? Nope. Okay. Moving on. I think this came out before last week's show, but we were running so long that we skipped over. We talked a bit about the gang stuff from Cyberpunk and how it sucks, like the portrayals of that stuff. And what doesn't sound like it sucks is they have made the campaign shorter than The Witcher 3, which on first blush is like, how dare they? They're cutting down the campaign. But
Witcher 3 is so long.
Their data shows, I think most devs, their data shows people don't finish those games. And I think they just said, well, if people aren't going to finish the story, we're just going to make the story shorter. And there'll still be a wide breadth of side content, but just the main narrative will be shorter than The Witcher 3.
And all of The Witcher 3 is really good, but the best parts of The Witcher 3 are in the final third, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it sucks because I think a lot of people play, the best parts are like the first third and the final third, because you get the Bloody Baron stuff and that's incredible. And then the shit goes, I still don't want to spoil it for people who might play it someday.
It was wild.
The third act is insane in that game. It is so cool. And when I played through it last year, I was like, well, why haven't more people talked about this? And then I looked in the mirror.
Got there.
Then I looked in the mirror and I was like, well, I'm just playing this now after 4 years or whatever. So I think it's smart to stack the middle stuff in the Witcher 3 is cool. It's a lot of political intrigue and it's interesting, but it's stuff that I think could have been more relegated. They could have told those stories through side content in a way that kept propelling you through the narrative and didn't bog you down. You end up doing like a murder mystery in the middle of the story, and it's like, it's a really interesting story, and it gives you one of the more cathartic choices in the game at the end of that path. But it's also like, this could have been side content, I feel, with some careful editing that may have meant that more people saw the hooks of the final act that really get you in and propel you to the end.
Yeah, you really need to play the DLC.
I know.
Like, oh god, put away Trails and go play the DLC for Witcher 3.
I am confident Sam's not on the show anymore, so I can say this. Not on the episode anymore, I should say. I'm confident that the story in the DLC for The Witcher 3 is more compelling than the story in Trails, as good as Trails is.
All right. Well, next news story. TGS is going on, and I haven't seen much of note out of it, but we did get some news about our favorite moon-headed game developer. Yoko Taro revealed that Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139 has a release date, and that's April 23rd, 2021.
Hell yeah.
In North America, it's like 2 days earlier in Japan. Localization, who knew? I really don't know why they are doing that like 2 day delay.
I'm not sure, but
let's look at a calendar. Okay, let's see. We got the 23rd is a Friday. Huh.
Yeah.
I guess they're just like Wednesday. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe a distribution thing, but yeah,
Games
they're
don't.
also
Big games don't release on Wednesdays typically here, at least in the U.S.
They also don't cost like $80. So
Correct.
this one they're doing a special edition again.
Okay.
The White Snow edition, because they did the black box edition for Nier Automata. So
what's so special about it?
it's got like
It's just the box.
yeah, it's a nice box. It's white. That's it.
No body pillow, no sale.
No, it's got
Does
like
it cost more?
Yep.
Does it have like Emil's head?
Nope.
Like
it does cost more. I think it's like $30 more or something like that. It comes with all of the scripts like the voice actors use. So it's like just like 7 or 8 books worth of scripts, which I thought is really fucking weird and cool. And it comes
It's
with
weird.
And it comes with a set of pins of like the book or whatever. What's the name of the book? I can't remember.
Oh shit, I forget.
But anyways, it's the book and some other stuff, and they're like these rectangular pins, and you're like, they talked about on the stream how it's like, oh yeah, we didn't want these pins to be thin and flimsy. We wanted to be like just like the book. So these are fucking thick pins that are like Zippo sized,
Jesus.
and like it's got some other stuff like the soundtrack and stuff too. But I ordered
people like that is a very Japanese like comedy television, like comedy variety show presentation that they did.
Oh, very much.
And people should go watch that. Just for,
I still need
like,
to.
If you want to see Yoko Taro and like the Nier creator people, the like composer,
Oh my god!
like the like the producer, just being weird and making jokes at each other's expense. It's a good time.
Yeah, the bit they did with the Toy Logic dude is very good. Which I'm not going to spoil it in case people want to watch it because it's worth watching, but it's funny.
I'm just
It's
frustrated.
subtitled, so
Nier Gestalt is an awesome game. I played it. I got all of the endings. That one was Nier Automata. For people who haven't played, Nier Automata kind of propels you through the replays. Each replay of the game is pretty different. So you kind of like it's almost more like you're just playing through the story rather than starting over each time.
Well, it
The
has
original-
it has that fat message from the Square Enix
Yeah, exactly.
PR team that's like, hey, play again.
The original Nier, there's certainly differences from playthrough to playthrough, but it's much more like same character, same like you get more. You're seeing all the same content again with additional context rather than seeing different content. So I played a lot of Nier, and I love it. But I'm really hoping that I don't need to play this release. Like, I want more people to play the original. I think you should, because it's really, really, really good. It's some of the coolest. I actually think I like the storytelling almost more than Nier Automata in the original, personally, as much as I love Automata. But also, I kind of hope that it's not. I have a feeling with Yoko Taro that it'll be like, and it's got way more story content in it than the original one, but I don't want to play through it again.
He talked about how it's going to have 3 times as much voice acting because like specifically because there's a lot of stuff that's not voiced in the original release.
Yeah,
and
that's true. That's true.
Now everything is going to be voiced.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that I will probably buy, and I would love to have to be able to go back to and play whenever, because I love that world too. That's the other thing about the original Nier is I think the like environments and just existing there is so super cool. Structurally, it's very interesting, but I don't want to play it for another 70 hours or however long I played in the original, just because I've done it, not for any, not for a real negative reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look forward to that. We'll definitely talk about it at some point. It looked pretty slick in the gameplay demo. I saw a little bit. But
they gave it a release date.
yeah,
Did we talk
we
about
said
that?
I said at the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we did? Okay, I was
2
writing
days
down notes, sorry.
before 2 days before my birthday. That's why. Is that the Japanese release date, or is that the
April 23rd is the North American release date.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it was the Japanese one, because then that would say that they delayed the North American one for my birthday. But
Oh,
No. Our next news, we wanted to talk about this last week, but Allison, due to technical troubles, had to depart. We've got a new American Girl doll.
All right.
And the reason
Here it
this
is.
is noteworthy is this new American Girl doll, she's a gamer. Her name's Courtney. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
think she plays
Courtney.
Pac-Man. Arcade, she's like 80s style, like arcade gamer.
Yeah, because the thing is that she. So if you guys who are listening to this video game podcast are not into the American Girl verse, boy, do I have a treat for you. But also the doll, like all of their like main character dolls are set in a specific time period. So like for example, Molly's World War II.
Does she have like a
Addie's
D-Day,
Civil War.
like fatigues and a helmet?
She actually might. I don't know. She has they have a lot. I mean, she has like not fatigues, but she has. They definitely cover like the war effort and stuff, but more of like
Okay.
a from home type
Like
thing.
a Rosie the Riveter type thing?
Not quite. I mean, she's like a kid, is the thing.
Oh, fine.
they had children make munitions.
But anyways, yeah, so they're all like set in various periods. Courtney is set in 1986, which is now considered a historical period, which is buck wild, but it's true. And so among other things, she likes I think making games and then also playing games. You can buy an accessory that is a Pac-Man cabinet that works.
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say.
is doll size.
I didn't think about that, but they've been making those tiny arcade cabinets, and it just clicked in my head that cabinet must work, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
it works. I looked that up. It's kind of a more expensive one than like a lot of those little ones, but also it's a lot bigger because it's 2 scale for the doll.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But
cool.
I will say, it's to scale to the doll, who is ostensibly a child, right?
yeah, I think
So it should be
usually they're
much
like
larger.
around like, you know, the
Yeah.
12-year-old kind of
Okay,
age.
because I'm
range
looking.
usually.
I'm looking at a promotional photo, and Courtney is still significantly taller than the cabinet. So
There is that, but
I'm not dragging it. I just think it's kind of funny that it's like to scale.
You're not
but
dragging
also,
it. It's too heavy. You don't want to break that CRT.
listen, Courtney is a very tall person.
Yeah.
You don't need to. This is something she's going to be sensitive about.
I'm not making fun of it. I'm just impressed. Hopefully she does whatever she wants to do with her future and her career. But I'm just saying, it looks like she would be a very good power forward.
how long do you think it'll take for someone to install MAME on that cabinet?
How long do we think it'll take for somebody to put Doom on the cabinet?
Shorter than it'll take for MAME, but
Someone's put Doom on a pregnancy test at this point, so
that's true.
it's probably installed on the cabinet already by the American Girl doll people.
Yeah.
All right, I
Will it
want
have a JAMA? Sorry, continue.
I want y'all to pitch me your American gamer doll. Doesn't have to be a girl. It could be anybody.
Like
Who is your
any-
American gamer doll?
From any era, and what
Oh,
would
yeah.
what would their accessories be?
Their name, yeah, their accessories. What do they look like? If that's, if you've got this like image in your head.
And they beat.
The only thing that comes to mind is that South Park World of Warcraft episode, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh God.
I can't remember his name. I barely remember the episode, but I
They
just
had a
know that.
name. All right.
I want a GI Joe that's like from War Games. They're like a gamer nerd, and then they get recruited to like fly drones or something.
Okay. I want this beautiful young woman named Billy Mitchell, and she's a hot sauce magnate, and she dresses in an American flag, and she's really good at I don't know, Donkey Kong. I don't know.
that was my other angle. Is Courtney gonna make hot sauce in the future?
If they start like hinting that in the books, because that's the other thing, is that all of these dolls come
That's right.
come with a book and then also have other books that are written about them. If suddenly it's like, I really like to make hot sauce, it's like, oh god, it's happening.
Okay. I got a real one now.
Okay.
I don't. What's her name gonna be?
We can workshop the name. What's
The name doesn't
what's the
matter.
character?
So they're a streamer. They're a streamer.
Okay,
girl.
they're a streamer. Okay.
They got a PC. They got a monitor set up in front of them, and they got a nice backdrop behind them where it's like all flashing lights and pretty. But the other side of the room is just a total mess, and the other side of their life, as soon as the computer's off, is also a total mess.
It's like the picture of the doctor who was on CNN
In her underwear,
yes,
Exactly.
no pants.
that's what
Yeah,
I needed
and-
for 20. That made 2020 okay to me.
And then she needs to moderate her community and turn off her Twitter DMs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depressing.
Okay.
You made a depressing doll. I was gonna go with no bummers. At first, I was like, "Oh, a doll that says slurs," and then I was like, "No, that's too dark. That's too
Hot,
that's too
a hot
depressing."
gamer doll, but it's not hot in the right way.
I want to hear Allison's because I imagine it'll be happier.
It'll probably be more
Oh,
wholesome than
see,
mine.
mine was like, this is somebody who works at the laboratory where they made tennis for two, and it
Yes.
comes with a machine that lets you play
That's
tennis
so
for
wholesome.
That sounds way
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Than our dark dystopic Black Mirror views of.
two. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't want an American Girl doll. I know this isn't an American Girl doll that is basically like says slurs. I don't know. They're wholesome. Well, I mean, like wholesome, but in a they cover deep shit in these stories.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like people were surprised because a big thing about Courtney is that she is a fan of the Challenger mission. And you're like,
Oh
ooh,
no.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have been told, I am not involved in the American Girl fandom, but I have a lot of respect for it, and I have been told that that they get like they're pretty smart about the authors that they work with to write the
Yeah.
books, and that they try to nab up and coming authors, and it's a fairly prestigious gig to get asked to write an American Girl book as a young author that's kind of developing. And that generally those books are of a much higher quality than you would expect from a toy
for sure.
company doing like add-on novels.
They also are very, very specific. They go interesting places with their with some of their stories too. Somebody in a Facebook group I was in was like, wow, they're covering the Challenger disaster. Like that's a thing. And it's like, yeah, literally Addie's first book is her escaping slavery.
Yeah.
And like they deal with World War II,
Mhm.
like
And
economic
Nazis specifically.
inequality. Yeah, it's like they deal with a lot of stuff. And from what I understand, they do like a lot of research and like intensive everything before they put a doll out. Like when I was still buying these dolls, they just put out Kaya, who's from a very specific Native American tribe, Nez Perce. But like they did, I think like full on like multiple years of research, and then they worked with the Nez Perce tribe and was like, we're going to make this as accurate, but also as authentic and as genuinely like not just like, oh, this is a doll with a costume. Like we're going to try to make it as respectful as possible and work with other people.
You don't
Work with
ever
the tribes.
you don't ever hear any like backlash. I mean, I'm sure it has happened, but you generally
I worked at the American Girl store, which is part of why I was also excited. I worked there when they discontinued Samantha. That was like a minefield of working in that store that day. But
I mean, more you don't hear news stories that's like American Girl, this time they're doing it. They're doing
This
it
time,
again. They're appropriating blah
problematic.
blah blah. Yeah, like you just don't hear that stuff. And for them to be a company that deals in producing dolls based on lots of different cultures and ethnicities, they must be doing something right to not
Yeah.
constantly be in the news
I think
in a bad way.
I think the biggest controversy, I guess, is that they genuinely are expensive dolls.
Yes,
And
sure.
that they are expensive in terms of buying their stuff. The thing I will say is that they are genuinely extremely high quality in terms of doll manufacturing.
Yeah.
I know that. So when I was working at the store, I was a doll hairstylist, which is my very first job.
Kind of awesome.
Which it's like my very first job, and I got the job because I wrote on my job application form, which I brought physically from the mall because that's the level I was at that point, and I wrote, "You have to start somewhere," smiley face on there, and they were like, "Okay, sounds good. We'll hire her, I guess." But we basically did the hair for every kind of like similarly sized doll if somebody brought it in. And the American Girl dolls were so much better. Like, holy shit. Like it's not like a value judgment, because I mean, if you can only afford to buy like a doll from Target or Walmart, I mean, there's no shame in that. It's
An
just in terms
Armenian
of, like,
grill like doll.
it's just if you it's like the quality is very specifically there, so it's like it's expensive, yeah, but I can't really exactly be
doll making
mad
is
about
expensive too. We can move on, but my mother makes dolls, has a business where she makes dolls, and she makes Waldorf dolls, not like traditional kinds of dolls, but her dolls are really expensive, and it's a thing she constantly grapples with. And the difficulty is that like material cost is really where it's at. She doesn't really make any money at doing it. It's just that when you eat, and I'm sure that this is the case with American Girl as well, when you use really high quality materials, it's expensive.
Yeah. They're also very, very good. Like, this is going to be my last story because it is my favorite American Girl story. One of the things they're really, really good about is they have a hospital if you have an issue with your doll. So, like, for example, if your doll's leg comes off or something for whatever reason, like you can send it in and then they'll fix it up for you. And then they call it like the hospital. And then it comes with like a little gown, a little, little stuff like that. When I was working at the store, I heard a story of a kid who really wanted their doll to have all those little accessories, but was told, "Oh, well, we're not going to send it to the hospital. Your doll doesn't need anything." And so then she rode her bike over her doll so that she could send it to the hospital. So that is the creation of Future Murderer or something. Because I was just like, whoa, that is a scary child.
Or she'll write Batman
send you
someday.
to the hospital.
Maybe she'll write Batman someday.
Possibly, yeah.
All right. Well, next we got 2 stories left in the news. God, this is.
Oh my gosh, this is long.
These are short ones. Destiny 2 Beyond Light is coming out in November. You're going to need to reinstall the game when it comes out, like the entire thing. Like you're not downloading an expansion. You are, but you're not just downloading the expansion. You're not patching the game. You are re-downloading the entire game.
Cool.
Maybe it's going to be smaller than it currently is because they're taking out so much theoretically to work on it, but that remains to be seen. But I wonder if that has to do with like they're pulling out so much that it messes with like the structure on the hard drive. So like they're pulling stuff from weird spots. So it's like we're just going to reinstall the whole thing to avoid any like weird fragmentation issues. I don't know. And our last news story for this week. Actually, I think there's one more that I'm trying. Oh, yeah, there is one more. We'll come back to it. RuneScape is officially coming out on Steam on October 14th, 2020.
19
Game of the year,
years,
baby.
baby. After 19 years, RuneScape is finally out.
1.0 game of the year every year. RuneScape.
Hell yeah. I'm probably going to download that.
We're going to play RuneScape together, Pat.
I think we probably should do that for a stream or something. That would be very funny.
I would look.
24
I would
hours
join you guys.
of 24 hours of RuneScape for extra life.
If we committed to that, I would cancel my flight sim thing and do that instead, because that's so stupid. My flight sim thing is, and not to toot my own horn, I think a good idea. Playing
It is a
RuneScape for
great
24
idea.
hours is a terrible idea, and I would much rather do something terrible. If you donate enough money, we'll stop.
You can do both. Like, there's no reason you couldn't do
Actually,
both of
that's a
those
very
things.
good point. I can
Yeah, that's
probably
true.
fly around the world and play RuneScape for 24 hours. And I think
It's gonna take a
RuneScape is on
long-ass
mobile.
time.
RuneScape might be on
There
mobile
is.
too.
I don't know if it's
Yep, it is
crossplay
on
though.
mobile.
That's a good point.
All right. And the last news story, which we don't have here, is is it Lab Zero, the Indivisible dev?
Yeah.
A bunch of the devs who they had a mass exodus of talent from the studio after a bunch of allegations about toxic work environment and sexual assault over the summer. Many of those devs have come together. I believe 16 of them have come together and created a co-op where they will be making games. So we'll see how that goes. It's apparently the largest game co-op in I think it's in North America. But they can't, they're not legally a co-op because they can't get insurance if they are, because America doesn't know what to do with that. They're like, that's not a thing, co-op. But they're structured as co-op. Everyone has ownership. They're doing some interesting things with pay, where if you have kids, you're going to get paid more. If you have, because you're going to need more money. If you have kids, they take a lot of money to raise. But so they're going for more equivalency than just straight equality, which is interesting. We'll see how it pans out.
So I have two things to report on the mobile version of RuneScape. One, it's old school RuneScape, not current
Okay, so
RuneScape.
it's the shit I
unfortunately.
remember from.
Yes, it does have crossplay, but it's only for other people playing old school RuneScape. Two, in their trailer, it opens with a title card that says the world's greatest MMO, which I think is a lot to just say about your own game. There's no,
Hell yeah.
it's not quoting anything. They're just saying the world's
Hey,
greatest MMORPG.
Sometimes you need to have confidence in what you're providing, and the RuneScape devs have that in spades.
I mean,
so.
I'll say this. I bet I could make a character in RuneScape and play with people that I know who are playing RuneScape, which those people don't exist. But if they hypothetically existed on the same server, faster than will happen with Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the news. Holy shit. This is 2 hours, 5 minutes or something. Like,
12.
damn.
I'm going to keep milking it so that eventually we just functionally have to cut off the news like some kind of horrible growth and make it its own writhing show that exists separately.
My girlfriend would be so unhappy if I did another show, another episode. All right. Games. I think we're playing them.
They're good.
I have done a sensible thing. I have not brought a game this week because all I've been doing is playing the same shit I have been playing, except I did start Final Fantasy 12 for some reason.
I got quick
but
hits.
I'm not far enough in to talk about it. All right, then Pat, hit me with the quick hits.
So the first quick hit is that I am playing Trails in the Sky a little more, the first one, this week, and I'm trying to keep up with it because I would like to finish it. And it's good. It has a lot of really weird bullshit in it that there's so far they have hit on some not incest, but definitely some weird step sibling like
otaku ass.
Yeah, we're not, one of us is adopted, and we don't say brother and sister all the time, but I also have said you're like a little brother, and I also have a big crush on you, kind of thing. Also, that brother, they're both 16, and he gets aggressively hit on all the time by lots of characters, and in ways that are I want to do sex things with you, minor, and I am an adult, and it's fucked, and nobody comments. I mean, well, actually, that's not true. Estelle, the kind of sister who has a crush on him, always is like, that's weird, leave him alone, and great, but it doesn't feel like the game is saying that.
It feels less like the game saying that and more like, hey, I have a crush on him, you guys can have a crush on him too. It's like, that's not the issue here.
Yes, exactly. And whereas it feel like the game is like saying like, wouldn't it be sick if Joshua got slept with Sherazade because she's hot? And it's like, no, it wouldn't be, because he's 16 and she is 23. But then also there was a male character hit on Joshua, and then they were like, you're a pervert, I can't believe you like boys, which is like, whoa, okay, so we're also gonna do some he appears to be bi, so we're also gonna do some biphobia here. Great, love it, cool. We'll see how that pans out. Otherwise, the story is good, and I don't really like, this is part of why I don't engage with a lot of these kinds of games, but unfortunately there is a lot of that shit just baked into JRPGs. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's significantly worse than some other games, but I just haven't played one of these in a while this much. So it's all at once. It's like, oh, right, there's some weird views here. I will say at the very least, the game does not have like overly sexualized characters, despite them all hitting on this one character.
I'm sad that you talked about this game first, because this would have been a really good segue into another game.
Well, I also have been checking out that No Man's Sky Origins update this week, which is very cool. I think Kato on Waypoint Radio put it best. This feels like the first update they've done, big update that they've done, annual update that they've done, that is more of a like, hey, this is a service game and we're going to be adding content to it over time. The updates they've done prior have been a lot of like last year Beyond, that update felt like it was finally okay, this game is the one we've promised at this point. And it finally got over that hump and became like a really great thing. And then since then they've added a bunch of weird side mechanics, like you can get a bioorganic ship that hatches out of an egg. You can, it has VR. There's like these derelict cruisers you can get into that are like scary on the inside. So they've added stuff, but it's all felt kind of like almost like pet projects or something that are just interesting little things to put in. This update is focused on content additions. So it doubles the variety in the planet and flora and fauna department. So there, and they did it by spawning millions of more planets. So rather than rebake the game, all of the existing planets still exist, and they just popped new planets in all of the solar systems. So you and the planets have like much more dramatic geography. So you get like real mountain ranges in them that are huge. You get like super deep oceans. You get swamps and marshes and stuff like that. And then there's some fucking wild flora and fauna stuff that can happen. Like I landed on a planet where all of everything was a weird mechanical looking steampunky orb, and it was like there were like floating orbs and animal orbs and
animal orbs, like flying blowfish kind of thing.
No. So like one orb, you would scan it with your scanner and it would be a rock. One orb you would scan with your scanner and it would be a tree. They look the same. They have very minor differences, but they're all attached to the earth with like cabling. And then you would scan, and then I like turned around and one orb was like rolling around. It looked like the tree and the rock, but I scanned it and it scans as an animal. And it was weird. It was really cool.
You should have recorded this and shared it with the world. Sounds very good.
It was neat. So that thing is cool. They finally put worms, thinking about them worms. The gigantic, one of the big things that never made it from their original trailer is there were giant like sandworms like in Dune, and this update finally adds those in, and they are in fact like you could walk across. It would take you several minutes to walk the length of one of them.
Did they add Timothy Oliphant?
It's probably coming in 3.5. So yeah, I mean, and then they had the thing I haven't gotten a chance to look at yet, because I started a new save, because I always do that, and that's why I've never finished that game's story. They added these enormous skyscrapers that are like you can see them from miles away, that have like lore and story content in them. They're like exploration spaces. I think they can vary from like, oh, you might have to fight some sentinels in this one, and this one just has people in it and stuff. But they seem like cool additional story content to kind of seek out for people who have already played through all the narrative stuff. So it's a really cool update. I recommend it. It's the game's like half off right now, I think, on pretty much all the platforms I saw. $25 for that game, or $30, whatever it is a steal. That game is like something you can play for many, many hours.
Do you think that this was like not necessarily the poor reception at the start, but the way they've supported it? Do you think this was always the plan? Like the yearly kind of like big updates? Or do you think their original kind of thing was like, we're going to put out the game and people are going to like it and that'll be the game? Or because there was such a negative reaction, like we have to fix this, and then they just kind of kept rolling with it?
I think the fact that it's hard to know because they still don't charge for these updates. I would have thought that if they had planned to do this all along, that there would have been revenue built in there somewhere. But I wonder if it was the plan all along, but the reason they're not charging is because they needed to get over that poor reception. They've also hinted multiple times at charging for stuff eventually, and they still aren't. So I don't know. I think they're very clever with their naming schemes, and the fact that this is called Origins tells me this is sort of maybe a platform that they're building to go on to having some kind of a seasonal model or something, that maybe they'll charge for a season pass or something like that. I don't know what that looks like in No Man's Sky, because it's certainly not a combat focused game, and it doesn't have like, it kind of has dungeony stuff in it, but it doesn't have raids. It doesn't have the same kind of content that something like a Destiny has. So whatever a season pass would look like for that game is pretty weird. I would like to see them do some kind of like, I don't know, cosmetic charging maybe. It's tough. I don't know what the answer is for how they monetize that game, but I think there's a lot.
Keep selling copies of it, because every time there's a new update, I imagine their revenue just
explodes.
It's on Game Pass, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It may
not on
have
PlayStation or I don't know,
course.
PC Game Pass.
It is on PC Game Pass, actually. I just looked last night, but and it has crossplay now as well, which is worth noting. That came last year, and it has real multiplayer for anyone who didn't know that. You can just like join your friends.
Yeah.
It's weird as a multiplayer game. It would be a great multiplayer game if you want to like chill out with your friends, like I guess like have a couple beers or like smoke a joint or something, and then just chat with your friends and fly around. There's not really group content. I think it exists, but it's so buried. I don't know. It's really got to be the kind of thing where you're like, let's build a base, man.
I mean, it's the Minecraft thing. It's,
totally. Yeah.
And they added story stuff to Minecraft or whatever, but it's that original kind of, we're going to build shit and just hang out and explore and see what we find.
Yeah. I played some multiplayer with a friend last year, and he had played it a lot and had a very impressive base. And he was like, yeah, man, come check out my base. And so I walked around his base, and he was like, I have these cool vehicles. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't tried the Exocraft. And he's like, yeah, let's take him out and drive around. And he wanted to show me the like highway he built to another island and stuff. And we spent like 30, 40 minutes just kind of tootling around his base. And he showed me all of his infrastructure. And I was like, this is cool. What do you want to do now? And he was like, I don't know, man. You want to go like find some artifacts or something? And I was like, no, I want to fly around and find planets and mine resources to progress my own shit. And that's not really something that makes sense to do together, because then we're sharing a smaller, like we're sharing the pool of trees here. So it's interesting in that regard still. And I don't think it will appeal to everyone, but I've been enjoying it for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next. I think there's still a lot of cool features in a weird like Sims expansion pack way that they can add, like planets with multiple climates and like seasonal changes to planets and things that could be really neat. So I would like to see that happen.
Cool. Well, speaking of people who are all horny for this one person and just cannot stop hitting them, even though he is far younger than them, we've been playing Hades.
Hey, I mean, it's a little different because Zagreus is sort of he's not a child.
But he's so much younger than everybody else.
Yeah, but
there.
he's still an adult. I don't know. I don't think it's.
I've read him as an adult, but
Yeah, he seems like much more of an adult than Joshua from Trails in the Sky.
Hey, I haven't played it. But yeah, no, Hades. It's 1.0. It was 1.0 last week, wasn't it? Yeah, right?
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit, I think.
Yeah. We've talked about Hades a few times, but
I think we talked about a lot of it last week.
Yeah.
Allison's playing it.
I am.
How you liking Hades as the probably most well-versed in Greek mythology on the podcast?
It has been really, really fun. I mean, I really like roguelikes and roguelites a lot. And this is actually, like, gameplay-wise, this is one of my favorites. But story-wise, it's just like, it is completely like wonderful with Greek mythology. I think the thing that has been really nice about it in particular is that it doesn't feel like it's window dressing, if that makes sense. It feels like they care a lot about the stories, and they are putting a lot of thought and effort into how the characters are portrayed, who they're bringing in, what stories they're going to tell. I feel like a lot of times you see mythology and you're like, oh, they're the gods. Zeus has the thunder, which there's like definitely some of that, but I feel like there's a lot of times where there's little story things that are thrown in that feel like, oh, okay, this is not just like a superficial mythology thing. So that was very good. But
they're pulling on some very deep cut like jokes and things for a lot of these things. I saw someone tweeting about how there's a quip between Dionysus and Zagreus, because apparently Zagreus in the past, or like in one of his earliest, or in early Greek mythology, Zagreus and Dionysus were kind of the same person, and then later like spun off to be different people. But there's a point where Zagreus is like, what if you tell Orpheus that we're the same person? And then then Zagreus will go to Orpheus and be like, hey, did you know I'm actually Dionysus? I love a feast. Like stuff like that. So they really did their homework and wanted to do really obscure deep dive things for people who really know their Greek mythology, which is cool.
Absolutely, yeah. There are certain points where things show up and I'm like, wait a minute, I see what you're doing here, and it's very fun to see.
What's so cool is so many stories about Greek mythology and mythology in general are like, well, we're going to retell the events of this mythology. And I think something that Hades does, that God of War also did, that is so cool, is this is like what happens after all the other stories.
Yeah.
Like this is a world where all of the stories we know from mythology have happened. So you get to see, you know, what the world looks like for these characters. Like Achilles is dead already, and lives in the house of Hades and stuff. And you know, Orpheus and Eurydice have already had all of the things that happened in their stories happen, without getting too much into it. And so it's just so
spoilers
cool
for Greek mythology.
Yeah.
There were certain times in our chats where I was like, is this considered a spoiler because it's story based, but if you know the mythology, it's not a spoiler. But
And one thing that
Like,
Hades
yeah.
does that is very satisfying is it has moments where you go, "Oh shit," narratively, but nothing in it is. There's not a huge number of twists, really. It's pretty even having beaten a run. I think maybe there are when you get close to the end of the narrative
true ending.
Yeah, but for as far as I have seen, I don't feel like if I had been told any of the story stuff that I've seen so far that I would have been upset having gotten to it in the game, because it's that, like, I don't want to use the word predictable, but it's satisfying in the way that puzzle pieces fall together in the way that you kind of want them to, without it feeling like it's necessarily pandering either, which is cool. I like stories like that. And I finished a run and beat the last boss, and was very eager to see how they continue the runs. That part actually did go a little different than I expected, and it's very good. They do a really good job with.
And I'm at the point where this is probably the one game where I'm like, I want to see all of the things, which I don't always get with like kind of these kinds of roguelike or roguelite things, where I'm like, if I beat it, that's fine usually. But here I'm like, no, I want to see all of the combinations with the powers, because I think that's really interesting. And I want to read all the codex entries, because those are well written and interesting. And I'm just like, I just want all the content for this game, to the point where I finally beat the third area last night. And I was so happy because it took me so long to beat that. And I think I could be close to beating a run, probably.
Yeah, you're close to beating a run. You just have to beat it, basically.
I think I got through the fourth area. I just haven't beaten the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that fight is the last fight, the one that the boss
of your initial run. I don't know if there are.
Yes,
if for the true ending, there's probably other stuff there.
Right,
but
that initial run, you get through the fourth area. You kind of complete the objective to leave that area, and then there is a fight. And that fight is the last one for sure.
Okay, so that's where I was at last night. So I'm getting close, but it's like, but I'm still extremely motivated to play more too. And I'm not sick of playing it. So
without spoiling anything, there is going to be a moment in that fight where you're like, motherfucker. Just so you know.
No, I'm not surprised, because I was like, this fight, because I was reasonably low on health, and I didn't have any of the second lives, the death-defied things left. So I was like, I know I'm not going to beat this, but I was like, this is going pretty quickly and pretty easily. There's got to be more than this.
There is a bit of a gotcha in there, but I won't spoil what that is.
I'm not surprised by that, because I was like, man, if this is just the boss, this is easy. But then it's like, I know it can't be quite that simple.
It's not terrible, but it is.
Not since rough. Sekiro have I felt so betrayed by a game.
Oh, with the dog?
No, with the monkey.
Oh, right.
Anyway,
I just really love it, and
it's really good.
I'm so happy this game exists.
Yep,
it's so good. I wish I think I've asked this question before when I started playing this game when it was in early access. I just want like a Neil Gaiman's like Greek mythology, basically. I just want like a easily digestible, here's some Greek mythology in like a nice package. Because like it's really interesting, and those gods be getting up to some crazy shit.
They really are, aren't they?
Like, I'm a snake. I'm gonna fuck this lady.
It's kind of amazing. Like the book that I would maybe recommend, I don't know, I haven't read it in a long time, but the one that got me into mythology, Greek mythology, was Delaire's Book of Greek Myths, which is, I think, very good, but it's very interesting because that is aimed squarely at a younger audience. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting how they make these child friendly. Because
I want
a lot of
because
mythology
Neil
is not at all.
Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology has a scene where Odin has turned himself into a bird and lets out a giant wet diarrhea fart into his pursuer's face. So that's like the kind of shit I want in my Greek mythology.
No, man. Zeus turns into so many different things to fuck so many different people.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I want it all.
It's true.
Like, hey, I'm a swan now. Let's get it on. And you're like, okay, I don't know why I'm reading this. Let's turn into like a golden ray of light. That counts. You're pregnant. Like, what is this? Who are you? Why are you doing this?
By contrast, Apollo turns women into lots of different things because they won't fuck him.
The best though is Artemis, who's sees the hunter Actaeon like peeking a look at her naked, and she's like, well, they can't have that, and turns him into a deer so that he can be torn apart by his hunting dogs. And you're like, okay, you're pretty badass. They turn people into a lot of shit in mythology.
Yeah. All right. Well,
anyways, play Hades.
Play Hades. It's real good on Switch and PC. Probably coming at the consoles. It'd be absurd if it didn't. But
yes,
Definitely.
yeah. All right. Well, Alex, you got a few things here.
Hi. Yes, I do.
Take us on a journey.
The first one we can talk about is Heaven's Word is finished. That we can just quickly knock that out.
You fucked the dragon. You got the credits.
I fucked the dragon. I got the credits, and then I unfucked other dragons and got the other credits.
I want to fuck dragons so bad, but my server selection, the server I want to play on, is congested, and so I can't.
Can we take that clip out of context, please? Pat saying, "I want to fuck dragons so bad."
Yes,
but I'm congested.
But I need to get you some Sudafed.
If any advertisers want to use that clip, I have a price. I can be bought.
But yeah, no, I got to the end of Heaven's Word. It does some really interesting narrative stuff, which I wasn't expecting, which I can say for a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. In the narrative.
At what point are you going to start expecting it?
Well, it's because they never do the same trick twice. Like that's kind of been my issue with previous Final Fantasy games and JRPGs in general. It's like, oh, we're going to turn this character into a bad guy. And it's like, you see it coming from a mile away. Like Persona's guilty of that. Like Persona 4 and Persona 5, both with the cop characters kind of being like, oh,
cops are bad people.
Yeah. But like stuff like that. But this one, they mess with you in different ways. And then like, it's never predictable, and it's cool, which I'm into. And the last few arcs of this one were really fascinating to the point where I was talking to my friend, a couple of friends, being like, they're wrapping up like 3 different stories by the end of this expansion that are kind of interwoven, but you know, they're still separate and discrete. So by the time you're getting to the end, you're wrapping each one up individually, and they're kind of affecting the others. And the first 2 finished, and I was like, those were amazing. Those were fantastic. And then the third one kind of started at the end of the second one. I was like, oh, I'm not too invested in this. Why are they starting a new arc? And like, I was like 3 quests into it. I was like, why is this still, I'm not too motivated. I'm going to put this away for tonight and come back to it tomorrow. And then the next next quest I did actually paid off on stuff from like quest, like hours, like tens of hours ago. And also the trailer for A Realm Reborn. Like it calls back to that very specifically with like the music from that trailer and the scenario from that trailer. And it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? So yeah, it goes places and it's really fascinating. So yep, I'm now into Stormblood, which means I'm over halfway to the near stuff, which was my goal.
Such a good name.
Oh yeah. And it makes sense with context too. But
all right.
Yeah, so that's Final Fantasy XIV. That continues. The next one, let's go for Going Under. Has anybody heard of Going Under?
Yes. Sorry, I was yawning.
Going under instead of going under.
No, I looked at this game a little bit on Steam and saw some people playing it on Twitch.
Yeah.
I think I was looking at this game actually.
Yeah,
it looks like Ooblets the roguelite.
Oh,
that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this game.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like this game might have been influenced by early access Hades because it is kind of similar in that you are coming back to a hub world after every run and getting more story stuff. And like you're doing some different stuff. Like you're getting quests from various characters. Like as you're going in, it's like, oh, complete these things for me. Come back and I'll give you some upgrades. It also has some Binding of Isaac to it, where you're unlocking stuff that will potentially show up in future runs. So like you're like, oh, do I want this in a future run? Yes, I will sign up for that. So it is a roguelike in that sense, and gameplay wise, it's interesting. It kind of feels like Dark Souls to me, which you would not get from looking at it, like just looking at the art style and everything like that. Like you can pick up some big ass swords which swing extremely slow, and you have to do like basically fat rolls, like not fat rolls, but like you're rolling out of the way of danger and stuff like that. And it feels really good actually. Like that's the part of it I wasn't expecting. Like the controls are fairly simple. You roll with X on a PlayStation controller and you swing with square basically. You can tap square or you can hold square for like a charged up attack, which takes a little extra time, and sometimes it'll give you an AoE, or sometimes it'll just be an extremely strong hit. You're picking up weapons throughout. They each have their own durability. They have their own kind of properties. Like you can pick up these boxes that I think they call them sus boxes, like suspect, like you would see in Among Us and stuff like that. And you throw those and they explode. You can pick up succulents, which they call big potted sucks, like with 2 C's.
Oh God.
The big suck.
The big suck.
I love that.
You can pick up like big cup of joe, which is just a giant coffee pot. Just
fuck yeah.
Chug that thing down, move really fast, and then you can use the coffee pot as a weapon.
Parts of this sound like what's that Suda game? Free to play.
Fuck yeah, I know what you're talking about. With
Uncle Death.
Oh God, yeah.
Let It Die.
Let It Die. Let It Die.
Yeah. It does have a bit of that attitude. So the thing I've not talked about is the setup for all of this, because I think
is really cool.
The setup is like
Really
my
silly.
favorite part. It's so fucking good, where you are an unpaid intern at a startup.
Yeah.
And basically you're there for a marketing internship, and they're like, okay, yeah, it's great. We love having you here. You're a great asset to the company. What were you here for again? Oh, wait. Anyways, we have these goblins in the basement. Can you go take care of that? And like all this stuff.
It's
and she's
so
like,
good.
what? She's like your character is like, wait, what? I've never killed anyone before. What? And it's just very funny. The writing is really good. It comes from a place of knowing, as someone who has worked at a startup, all the things they talk about are 100% accurate. Like you're doing stand-ups with your team. They're getting all motivational for you. Like, sorry, Andre, you gonna say?
Well, okay, there's 2 things. One,
Yeah.
so does it have like kind of the Hades like like in between runs, like you get some narrative stuff going?
Yes, very much
Okay,
so.
and then also there's a demo on Steam. So I was looking at the Steam page, and there's like a developer stream going at the top or whatever. And is the money icon a cool S?
Not the money
that's what it
icon.
looks like.
There is a currency that
Like
might
a
look like
pickup
that. Yeah.
that looks like a cool S.
Okay, yes, there might be one of those. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that's like that. It's
Like,
for me, there's a weird balance of like the kind of knowing internet humor between it being cringy and it being clever. and this leans far more towards the clever.
Oh, that's good.
Like there's a funny moment where like your boss basically is very much one of those kind of like, we'll call him mid-40s kind of dude, and is trying to kind of keep up with the modern trends of kids, and he's like, oh, you'll be able to finish this dungeon so fast that you'll be doing the dabs like you guys like to do all the time and stuff like that. And like there's just lots of stuff in here that I think is really good. Sorry, what's up?
So I was going to say Scott Benson, who is one of my favorite writers in games, who was the primary writer on Night in the Woods, which is one of my favorite games, was saying that he felt that the writing was really clever in Going Under, and it was online in a clever way, not in a corny way.
Yeah,
exactly
I
what I
feel
mean.
like there's a very thin line between that.
Yeah,
but when it's
I'm not. That was enough to make me interested in playing it. I personally, I think the art is really colorful and cool. I don't like the art style at all from a taste perspective from myself. But hearing that the writing is that good made me interested in playing it for sure. But anyway, continue.
Totally worth giving a shot, and it's also extremely hard. I have yet to get like all the way through a dungeon, and there's multiple dungeons.
Yeah,
yeah, it's super hard. Which, for better or for worse, depending on how you like those games.
Everything you've said has made me want to play this game, and now I'm thinking about my game of the year list because I haven't played it, so I don't know. But with what I've got, I did not expect to have like 3 roguelikes like high on my and I'm not even like interested in Spelunky 2, but
yeah, oh totally,
roguelikes this year are really just
they're doing well.
And then Rogue Legacy 2 is in early access, and
I was thinking about it last night and was kind of like, I think I'm not trying to do the whole secrecy thing this year with Game of the Year. I respect that if other people want to, but Hades is in my top slot right now, and I basically I was like, well, Risk of Rain 2 is also extremely good, and Spelunky 2 is also extremely good, but I kind of had to stop and go like, those are great games. I don't want my personal Game of the Year list to be like half roguelikes.
6 roguelikes.
just from a like my year in gaming, the way I construct my lists, it's not even necessarily it's not an objective list of what I think the best games are. It's what are the games that really spoke to me personally, and Risk of Rain 2 and Spelunky 2 are both phenomenal games that I really enjoy, but Hades is kind of my roguelike representation, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know if this will be in my top 10. It could. I want to play more of it. But yeah, the initial 3 hours I've played of it, it's been really strong.
What's cool to me is looking at gameplay, even though I'm not crazy about the art style, I like the color palette for sure. And it looks materially different from a pacing and moment to moment and action perspective from something like Hades.
Definitely.
Hades is a game that I spend a lot of my runs mashing buttons in Hades. It's done in a informed way. It's not like random mashing. It's like I know what I'm doing with every button press, but it's a lot of like hammering the dash button and stuff, and zipping around levels really fast. This looks much more deliberate.
Yes.
And more like you're grouping enemies up to do specific like AoEs and stuff like that, and much more and it looks like you're picking up weapons that are different as you play through a run too. So
I think
it's cool to see variation.
I think it came out at a really inopportune time because it's going to draw a lot of comparisons to Hades just naturally because of when it came out. Same with Spelunky, frankly. But I think it's very distinct from all of them.
Yeah, it appears I think if you look at gameplay for more than 30 seconds, it looks very distinct in terms of how it's structure it's not even structure. Structure looks similar to Hades in terms of its gameplay. It looks very distinct.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't need to go on it for too long. But Neo Cascadia, it's basically set in the Pacific Northwest, and they draw attention to that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's good. We don't have to go on it for too long because I know we're running long today.
Yeah, there is a demo on Steam, so you can go check that out.
Yeah, or just watch some YouTube videos of it and you'll kind of get the vibe.
And it's another one of these $20 for this game seems like a great deal. It seems like there's a lot of gameplay packed in there for $20.
It is. It's a good game. I think it's also might be on sale. I got it for like
It's not
20
on Steam.
Oh, okay, maybe that ended.
Yeah, it is. It is for me. Loyalty discount.
So yeah,
It's
that's the thing.
yeah.
I had not seen that before. I think that's because if you own another Team 17 game, because
Yes.
it's published by Team 17, they give you a discount on it.
Some publishers do that. Yeah,
Which
I
is
forget the
interesting.
last one that happened. I did that with another game not that long ago. It's a really nice way. I will actually probably buy it because I can get it for $16 because I own other Team 17 games, and that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, you got one more game on this list, I see.
Yeah, let's go for it. So this is a game that I actually talked about earlier this year. I can't even remember.
I remember. Yeah,
Probably
I
during the
remember.
summer.
Even before, it was during the first IOX, I believe, or was it the second one? I can't even remember. This year, y'all. But
Yeah,
this is
no fucking kidding.
when the past was
Okay,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, and there was a demo that came out for this, and I played it, and we actually talked about the demo. And it's basically, I don't really know how to describe it, kind of like a point-and-click adventure game, I guess.
That's how
with-
they describe it.
Oh, really? Okay, I haven't looked at
Yeah.
the dev notes, sorry.
The Steam
but
page
it's-
says,
Okay, yeah. Well, it's a point-and-click adventure game, essentially, with a really beautiful art style. Like, it's really striking. The artist who worked on it, like, you should follow her Twitter. She's absolutely wonderful. But I'll link to it in the show notes. However, it's interesting. It's kind of like Florence in a way, in that it's telling a very personal story, very emotional story, but it never utters a word. Like, there is no dialogue. There's none of that. Everything that is being conveyed is all through character art, through animations, through music. Like, music is a core part of it, and ultimately through the puzzles you're solving. And again, it's a point-and-click adventure, so it's largely, finding things in the environment, clicking on them, combining them with other things, using them on other stuff, and figuring stuff out. The part about it that I wasn't expecting is that some of the puzzles are really fucking good. Like, some of the puzzles are very, very, very smart. Like, in the demo, it was a lot of like clicking through drawers, finding keys, opening other drawers that are locked with keys, and using that stuff to get to the end of the stage, basically. But as you go on, like, you get to kind of multi-stage areas where you can go through doors and go to different like parts of the world, and then you'll be in the third one and be like, oh wait, I think there was something written on the wall in the first one that seems like it might be in reference to this. So like I actually pretty much pulled out a pen and paper to like draw some stuff. I didn't actually do that. I took screenshots, but but like, you're basically taking notes on, could this be a thing? Does this work with this? Can I input this combination here? And then it works, and it does. And you're like, oh yeah. So it has a lot of those kind of like, you feel smart playing it moments. But all of that is also wrapped up in a pretty great narrative. I probably should have expected it going in with the title being When the Past Was Around, knowing, like, drawing the Florence comparison, where Florence is all about starting a relationship and it being exciting, and then the end of the relationship and moving on. Like, that's basically the arc of Florence. This one is starting a relationship, enjoying it, like loving it, and then the partner dying, and then like how to cope with that, and how to move forward and stuff like that, and like things that remind you of the partner and how to deal with it, which is really interesting. So I think it hits on pretty much all notes. Like, if you're interested in puzzle games, if you're interested in adventure games and point and clicks, if you want something with really gorgeous art, if you want it from an interesting perspective, like, the perspective on all of it is really good. I think it's really fascinating.
nice. When I first looked at it, apparently I added it to my wish list when we talked about it before. So
Nice.
I'll try and give that a look, because Florence is all right. And another experience like that, the art is really great, like you said, and hearing that the puzzles are interesting is cool.
Yeah, I like the puzzles a lot. Also, it's an Indonesian developer, so it's really cool to see because I feel like they as a developer, it's Mojiken, I believe is the name of the studio, and they just approach everything from kind of a slightly different way than you would here in North America or Europe, and I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, it's very cool. When the Past Was Around, check it.
Oh, they're the ones who are also doing a Space for the Unbound. Okay, or at least, or they're developing. Okay,
yeah. So
which we also talked about.
Yep. So they're doing some cool stuff, man. Can pretty easily recommend this one. It's also pretty inexpensive.
It's $7.19 on Steam right now, 10% off.
Yeah, so it's like $8 normally. So,
yep.
Sounds cool.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode then, unless anyone has any final thoughts. All right. Speak now or forever hold your peace. You did not
say
speak.
that I do.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 140 of the Gaming Fix podcast on September 26th, 2020. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite pizza. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays and researching server world status for Final Fantasy 14.
Where are we going? Where are we dropping?
To not change. It changes every 3 to 6 months. So I will either never play Final Fantasy 14 or give up and just play on a different server.
Where are you trying to drop?
I'm trying to drop on Ultros. Ultros is where I would like to drop.
Okay. Well, Godspeed. Allison, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
And Alex.
Trying to finish 13 Sentinels.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like quick 10-second pitch on 13 Sentinels.
It's kind of half visual novel, half like kind of real-time strategy.
The RTF part looked bad. The RTS part looked bad.
Is okay. I would say so far it is not grabbing me. I'm 2 hours in, but we'll see how it goes.
How does it compare to Brutal Legend?
I love Brutal Legend.
I don't think there is a comparison there.
All right. It's great. You can find our podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. You can stop by podchaser.com/gamingfix to leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Help us grow and do an even better podcast.
And I was reading on iTunes still. That's a thing. I didn't realize that it was still a thing.
I guess
Apple Podcasts,
iTunes. I don't know if that's. I think most of you listen to us on iTunes. Please leave us a review on iTunes. Twitter.com/fixpodcast. That's fix with a Y. And then thanks again to MC Fixer for joining us. You can find him on all the big platforms at MC Fixer, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and My Xbox and Me, the podcast. That's going to do it, folks. We're under 3 hours.
Yeah. Who has something to derail us for the next 3 minutes? Anybody?
So Wasteland 3 is like, it's real good. It's real good, but like there's some quality of life things they need to fix. Like I want to be able to put my people in like a line so that way they like run like a train instead of they just run everywhere. And then they're just like, oh, I'm going to run over this landmine and blow myself up.
I'm just going to fade us out this week.
And then my parrot dies. Then I realize like 2 hours later, and then I have to like, I can't let Polly die. I just paid $200 for this parrot. So then I have to reload a save from 2 hours ago where I accidentally tripped like a trap, and then it's bullshit, man. But I've got past it. Polly's alive. My clone's alive. Major Tom's alive.
Is Major Tom the cat? Okay. Major Tom's the cat, right?
Yeah. Major Tom's the cat that I lured onto my team with cigarettes. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back with another absurdly long podcast.
Okay, so bye.
Bye.
All right. Stopping the recording. Bye. Oh, and also stopping the stream.